hello, what's up this afternoon, everyone? Welcome. Fine Tuesday to you all. Good to see ya. What is up, Stone Rain, Labrador, Gawagi? It's probably not Gawagi. Zelda Zakba, Outrageous Tyrannosaurus, Funky Puntologist. How is everyone doing today? It is a super exciting day. We have a ton to talk about today. Not only are we going to try to blow up some lands, maybe, in Timeless, maybe do some Sorening, we'll see. We're going to play some Magic, but we have a Pro Tour, we have spoilers for days, we have cheaters, we have Olympic gold medalists talking about playing Magic. There is so much going on in the Magic world. Hey, what's up, Lazy Laz? Any interest in a historic best of one deck that lets you play a hasty 17-17 Annihilator 10 as early as turn 2? Not draw though, but turn 3 is realistic. So, I imagine that involves Ulamog. What is the hasty part of it? Blood Moon and Land. Yeah, I mean, what more can you want? I'm not even sure this deck is good. I really want this deck to be good. I don't know if it is good because I think it's probably kind of like inconsistent. But boy, when it does the right thing, it can blow up a lot of lands. Could Nadu be one of the most busted cards in Magic's history? So, we had a Pro Tour this weekend. Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3. At that Pro Tour, Nadu took 5 of the top 8 slots. It took all the top 4 slots. It won the tournament. It won 59% of the time, which might be the best performance at a Pro Tour ever. In Modern, maybe discounting Eldrazi, winner Eldrazi. It is kind of absolutely ridiculous. So could Nadu be one of the most busted cards in Magic's history? I think it might be one of the most busted cards in Modern's history. It's really hard to compare the bustedness of something like Nadu that lets you combo on turn 3 with the bustedness of something like Black Lotus. Like, it's a different kind of busted, right? So I don't know if I can say Nadu is like Black Lotus busted, but as far as like modern decks in archetypes, I think Nadu is on the short list. I think if I was going to rank the best decks in the history of Modern, I think you have Eldrazi, winner Eldrazi. You have Hogak right after Modern Horizons 1, and you have Nadu. I think, honestly, those are the big 3. Actually, so a little spoiler of stuff coming up on the YouTube. Gonna have a Nadu versus Hogak match coming up in a couple of days. Me and Richard recorded one. It's getting edited. We're editing it. We'll get it up, but that's coming soon. So if you want to see how Nadu compares to the first broken Modern Horizons deck, we're gonna do Nadu versus Hogak and see what happens. So hey, what's up, Lord Voice? How are you? So that's gonna be coming up either tomorrow or Thursday, I think is the plan, as soon as we can get it edited. So that's gonna be coming up soon. I mean, I don't think we're gonna call it Goat Magic, but it's essentially a Goat Magic episode featuring those decks. And then maybe, I don't know, we might have to throw Eldrazi in there at some point if people like it. Maybe we do Eldrazi too, because honestly, the greatest Pro Tour performance in the history of Modern, without a doubt, was Eldrazi, winner Eldrazi. So here's the thing about Eldrazi, winner Eldrazi and why it is so stunning compared even to Nadu. So Nadu was 21% of the day one meta, and it ended up being 5 of the top 8 decks. What made Eldrazi so absurd is people didn't actually know Eldrazi was a thing. If you go back to that Pro Tour, 8% of people played Eldrazi. It was the 5th, I believe, most played deck at the tournament. It was like 2 teams that figured out Eldrazi was busted. And in the end, 8% of people played it on day 1. 48% of the people that got at least 8 wins in Constructed were Eldrazi players. So it was a very small number of players, and they just literally crushed everyone. And then it was 6 of the top 8. So the upside of being Eldrazi, though, is Eldrazi didn't have a target on its back. So people weren't teched for it, but it was the most utterly dominant performance in a Modern Pro Tour, bar none. I think Nadu's number 2 behind that as far, because Hogak, remember, Hogak might be a stronger deck than Nadu, but it didn't have the Pro Tour performance. It only put one deck in the top 8 at its Pro Tour. The other big news that we got to talk about is we got spoilers for days. We got spoilers. We got a new set announcement. Let's do our reminders real quick and start playing some Magic. But we have a ton of spoilers to talk about. So reminders, replay YouTube. That's where you invite all the old streams, including this one in the future. Normal YouTube, like I said, special episode, Hogak versus Nadu coming up. Tons of other stuff on the YouTube. So keep an eye out for that. A reminder that our sponsor today is Card Kingdom. If you need some magical cards, You can over at arcadem.com/MTG Goldfish, even get a free goldfish sticker. Funny thing is, they have to be a Nadu to stop the deck. Banning Shuko Outriders is just going to make people look for alternatives. I think someone already looked into the list, didn't even have Shuko in it, and somehow it became even better. I mean, so here's the thing. They have to ban Nadu. There's no doubt about it. My fear is, oh man, they got to ban Nadu now, is my opinion. I don't think the end of August is productive. I think they might wait till the end of August because they're going to be like, well, Bloomburrow spoilers start next week and then Standard's going to rotate. So what do we care? We sold pre-orders for Modern Horizons. Like, we'll move on to Standard. We'll move on to the other stuff. So I do have a little bit of fear they're just going to like wait essentially, but I think there is no way around it because you ban Shuko, you got Lightning Greaves, you got Umbra Mantle, you got Outriders and Core. And here's the bigger issue is I've heard some people say like, well, what about banning Nantucket? Ban the landfall creature. What about banning Chord of Calling? Things like that. The thing is, I think Wizards wants to print cards like that. You can't blame Springheart Nantucket because Wizards is going to want to print creatures that are like landfall, make a token at some point in the future. What they don't want to print again in the future, hopefully, is a Nadu style effect. So I think that's what has to happen. Does anyone know if Daily MTG Stream is still happening today? I actually don't know about that. I know sometimes WotC stuff is weird and holiday weeks, and this is like 4th of July week in the US. I don't know. They usually have one every Tuesday, but maybe they aren't. I know next week, we will have spoilers for Bloomburrow. So early stream next week for spoilers for Bloomburrow. So what are we playing today? So we're going to start off with, I think it was LSV that said twice a turn is like the fakest line of text he'd ever seen on a Magic card, and I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know how they landed on that. I still have in the back of my head that they like, oh yeah, we got to go over the teaser. I did see it. Let me pull up Marrow's Bloomburrow teaser. We gotta go over that too. Oh, we have so much to talk about. Are we even gonna play Magic today? We might just talk about Magic today. We gotta blow up some lands. We'll blow up some lands. I promise. We're gonna blow up some lands. But we do have a ridiculous amount to talk about today. So Mark Rosewater's teaser is up for Bloomburrow. Bloomburrow spoilers, like I said, starts next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we will be doing an early stream to check out the spoiler stream. Here is the teaser for Bloomburrow from Mark Rosewater. And also for some context, we did get a few spoilers for Bloomburrow. Here are the Bloomburrow spoilers that we got over the weekend, because it does kind of at least tell us the creature type. So we got the Salvation Swan, whatever, kind of like a bad restoration angel, I guess, that cares about birds, like mixed with a weird bad flicker wisp, but still a fine card as a flash flyer. But here's the big news. In this land cycle, we see the creature types that are in the set, which are bird, frog, otter, rat, mouse, rabbit, bat, lizard, squirrel, and raccoon. And I think that's all of them. I think those are the 8 creature types that are split in the set. This set is going to be very interesting. Pretty sure it's going to be the cutest Magic set they've ever made. The lands are very intriguing. I think the lands are actually really good. Are you going to blow up lands with Eldrazi Wumpus deck? No. We're playing like Rule Ponza, kind of a traditional Ponza style deck. Why don't they unban stuff? Because there's no Trinisphere on Arena and Magic Online's down, so we can't play the Eldrazi deck without Trinisphere, I don't think. Trinisphere is kind of like the key card to that deck. Why don't they unban stuff to reintroduce different degenerate stuff and let them compete? Thinking Artifact Land, Splinter Twin, other singular most broken cards, at least see what they if they are still broken. I think that's a really good idea, but here's the problem with that. Wizards doesn't want us to play old cards. They want to sell us new cards. And I think that's the bottom line. Because the only way I can wrap my head around them not unbanning Splinter Twin is that Wizards doesn't think it's beneficial to sell Splinter Twin. Because the idea that Splinter Twin's broken compared to what Nadu does is just like kind of hilarious. So I'm pretty sure that's the bottom line is that they actually just don't want you to be playing the old cards. They want to be selling you the new cards in the new packs from Modern Horizons 3 or from Final Fantasy or from Bloomburrow or whatever. So that's the only thing that makes sense in my head. Did I miss a creature type? I believe all the creature types are on here. So you got bird, frog, otter, rat. So that's 4. Mouse, rabbit. So that's 6. Lizard is 7. Squirrel is 8. Raccoon is 9, and then Otter is 10. So yeah, there are 10 creature types. I might have missed one when I was reading out the list. So here's the teaser from Mark Rosewater for Bloomburrow. Before previews begin next week, I thought it'd be fun to do my little teaser, blah, blah, blah. So here's some things you can expect. A new mechanic that is a tweak on a mechanic from 2013. Does anyone know the mechanics from 2013? So what sets, let's see, chronological list of MTG sets. What sets even released in 2013? What sets are we looking at? So 2013, that's like Theros era. I want to say Theros was 2013. That's when I started playing, right? So Dragon's Maze, Gate Crash, Theros, Dragon Maid's Great Crash, and Theros. So what mechanic? So a twist on a mechanic from this set that fits with this animal themed world. Overload, Unleash, Detain, Populate. Could be, I bet it's Populate. We know there's this token theme. I would not be surprised if Populate was the twist. What would the twist on Populate be? Populate, but with like name tokens or something. That's my current guess, because we know the token theme. We know the token theme is there. I mean, I guess it could be other things as well. Was there anything in Theros that would possibly heroic? Well, we know enchantment creatures are coming. Oh, wait, is that what he's talking about? Are enchantment creatures? Oh, wait, is it just... Maybe it's just enchantment creatures, because we know there's... Well, enchantment creatures are Duskmourn, though, and this is Bloomburrow. Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I'm going to guess Populate, but... Bestow? I guess it could be Bestow. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. So a new tweak on a mechanic from 2013. Destroy target creature. A spell with only this rules text gets a new mana cost. So right now, what is the mana cost for destroy target creature? Who in chat knows? Who in chat knows? Destroy target creature. I think it's just murder, right? So 1 black. I imagine that we're probably gonna get, like 2 mana murder. Maybe, I don't even know if double black is worth it at this point. Like, I bet you could just make 1 in a black, like a Doomblade that just says destroy target creature with the power creep of 2024. Maybe it's double black to start off, but I would bet you. Oh, see, that's an interesting possibility. What if it's not even black? What other color could even get that, though? White, I guess, in theory, but that usually exiles. Red would be really weird. Blue, no way. Green, no way. So it's got to be black, right? It's got to be black. Maybe I guess it could be white. That would be the only other color. A cycle of uncommon lands that each reference 4 creature types. We actually just looked at those. Counters in the set. +1/+1 Blight Coin, Finality Flood, Flying, Indestructible, Loyalty, Stash Counter, Stun Counter, Supply Counter. A non-creature subtype makes its first return. So chat, what do those words mean? So a non-creature subtype. So give me an example of a non-creature subtype. Are we talking about like lairs, Urzas on lands, caves, things like that? Interesting. I mean, lairs would make sense for an animal set, right? But we just got those. Wouldn't you think that those uncommon lands we just looked at, wouldn't you think that those would have the type if that was what they were, if it was going to be a land type thing? Fortification, finally. We've been waiting for Fortification to return. A 10-card cycle that acts as typal glue. So I'm imagining this has got to be something, because we have all these creature types, right? So I imagine this is something that's going to let you mash together otters and raccoons or whatever. Some sort of something that's doing that. 2 mechanics that came out of the same set. Return each part of a different 2-color archetype. 2 mechanics that came out in the same set. Return each part of a different 2-color archetype. I have no idea what that could be. The word squirrels shows up 4 times in rules decks. Target squirrel creates a squirrel token for each squirrel that squirrels. Close. A mythic cycle with a new symbol. I'm also confused by this. What symbol? Oh, like a tap symbol? Oh no. Is that what it means? That might actually be something kind of interesting. If it's a new, what do we have? The untap symbol, we have the tap symbol. There's not that many symbols. Energy symbol. One of the cutest mechanics we've ever made. I mean, that makes sense for Bloomburrow. Here's some rules text from the cards. Create X tokens that are copies of target token you control. That seems pretty busted. Like a depopulate style thing for tokens. If you control a raccoon, you may discard a card. Creatures your opponents control have base toughness of 1. Probably some combos with that. If you make things 1 toughness and then like electrickery or something, whenever 1 or more creatures you control leaves the battlefield without dying. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So this is like for blinking or things being exiled. If it's the first instant spell, the first sorcery spell, or the first otter spell, put a flood counter on target land. Oh, can they bring back, what is the flood counter card? The one that like on your upkeep puts a flood, it's like a 3-mana artifact. It's from original Mirrodin block. I can picture it in my head, but I don't remember the name of it. And you can put a flood counter on a land and it turns into an island. Oh, Hammock, thank you for the raid. How was your stream? Welcome, Raiders. We're just going over Marrow spoiler, then we're gonna blow up some lands. As long as there are 4 more card types among cards exiled with card names, so Delirium for exile, up to 1 target artifact, creature, planeswalker in opponent's controls loses all abilities until end of turn. Kind of an interesting option. And then some creature types: Hamster Citizen, Frog Advisor, Skunk Assassin. If you gotta get assassinated, that's the worst way to go. That is the worst way. I can't think of any. I mean, maybe if you're assassinated by Da Vinci or Socrates, but other than that, being assassinated by a skunk. Raccoon Berserker, Squirrel, Warlock Bard. Wait, so a singing squirrel Rabbit Mouse, Badger Warrior, Weasel Mercenary, Elemental Elk, Bird Dragon. Finally, here's some name. Man, they love these horrible puns. Finally, some names from the set. Crumb and get it. Crumb and get it. Oh my god. This is did they hire LSV to make puns for their card names? Did I miss that announcement, the LSV being hired to name cards? Festival of Embers, Hop to It. Kidnap, Playful Shove, Polywallop, Rabid Gnaw, Shriek Force, War Squeak, and Wishing Well. Hey, what's up, Elf? How are you? Usi should be an interesting returning subtype. We have spoilers to talk about, but let's actually play some Magic. So what are we doing with this deck? We're blowing up lands. That's the plan. The goal of this deck is to hopefully Flare of Cultivation, an Abriel Grace or a Kami on turn 1 to ramp into Blood Moon on turn 2, or land destruction like Stone Rain, Ursowing Microspawn, or Wake of the Trolls. Worst case, we can use Karn to get a Liquid Metal Coating or a One Ring to draw a bunch of cards, and then we just blow up lands. How do we win the game? I don't really know. We hadn't really thought through that much, but hopefully our opponent scoops when we blow up enough lands. Do you dislike Modern now? It seems like a really cool format despite Nadu, and even though there are new decks in the meta, but I wonder if it's actually good, since it seems like the same decks were dominating the meta for so long. Maybe it didn't need to be so dramatic, but still a shakeup is still good. I don't dislike Modern. I like Modern. I do have concerns with... I don't think that Modern being a rotating format is necessarily good for Modern. So my concern for Modern comes from a place of me really loving Modern. Like, overall, in my time in Magic, Modern is my #1 favorite format. It has been for like a decade now. Like, almost since the start of Modern, I've loved Modern. So my concern is not that Modern is like horrible now. I've really enjoyed Modern ever since Modern Horizons 3 came out. I do think Nadu is a mistake, and that's going to be a problem that needs to be solved, hopefully quickly. So I think there's mistakes, obviously, but when it comes down to it, my concern is more like, I'm worried for the future health of Modern, with like decks being so expensive to get into, and then the format like pseudo rotating when a Modern Horizon set comes out. Because it used to be like in the past, right? I'm always blowing up lands. This should not come as a surprise to anyone. We're gonna play a Kami Bamboo Groves. We're gonna put an extra land into play, and then wait, are you gonna counter this? No. Get that non-bait. Get that Surveil land. Get that Triome. Oh, basic. That's kind of like cheating. Trolls of Khazad-dûm. Oh god. If they reanimate this troll, we're kind of in trouble because... Oh, and it's a... Oh no. Our opponent has very expertly played around our Blood Moon by getting all basic swamps. So my concern is, like, Modern is really, really expensive. In the past, I would tell people, if you've played Modern or followed for a long time, you would know that the argument for Modern in the past was, sure, decks are really expensive, but you buy the deck, you're going to be able to use it for like 5 years. So in the long run, it's actually cheaper than Standard. That was like the argument for Modern, really. That's just really changed. So that's one of my big concerns is if your decks are going to be like $1,200, but then it's going to be invalidated in a year or two, that's a really big, Shieldred. That's a really, really big investment to, for most players to make. Yeah, this is going to go really poorly. We will draw, we will get drained. It's even more camis. How do we survive a Shieldred? So if our opponent does not care about Blood Moon, and they have Dark Ritual to not care about their lands, our deck does a little bit worse. Just a little bit worse. Can you please explain the Endurance combo with Nadu? I've been going insane trying to figure it out. Oh no. So, I mentioned this earlier. I actually... we recorded a video. I think what we have to do here is play a Cami. For no value, we need to hope our opponent attacks with the Shieldred. We can double block with the Camis and then bolt it. I think that's our only realistic way to get it off the battlefield. If we get Thought Seized, I mean, our Blood Moon doesn't do anything. Our Stone Rain doesn't do much. We will cast it at some point. Waking the Troll's too expensive. Oh, another basic. Deathray Shaman. Sure. Opponent goes to combat. Opponent attacks. Well, block. Hopefully our opponent doesn't see what's happening here. Just take it. It's fine. Okay. Cammy's down. End step. Bolt that Shieldred. Get it out of here. Well, we survived the first Shieldred. Yeah, we need it on the battlefield there to be able to kill the Shieldred. Well, we'll untap. Stomping Grounds. Well, we will crack the Prismatic Vesta. I don't even think it's worth playing this Blood Moon. It seems like our opponent is literally on the all swamp mana base. We will grab a snow-covered waste. Boom. Out of your swamp, blow up that land. Okay, so do you really want to know the... Do you really want to know the... Yeah, Cease likes to meow. She really does. I will walk you through the loop. So we did a paper game that is me and Richard playing Hogak versus Nadu that's going to be coming up. So I had to make sure that I learned the endurance loop. Oh dear, that's not great either. And I will walk you through it momentarily because it is actually kind of wild. It is a loop that there is no way you should play on Magic Online because I don't even think it's possible to go through the entire loop on Magic Online. But I will walk you through it. Couldn't donate through this stream, but I did send 1,500 bits. Hey, thank you, B-Nick. When you get the chance, would you mind answering this? What are your thoughts on adding restricted to Modern? For example, instead of banning Nadu, restrict it. This can apply to cards that are banned, unban them, and then restrict them. What would the consequences be? So, let's thin our deck first. Let's Prismatic Vesta, crack Prismatic Vesta, grab a Forest, and I mean, we're going to play the Blood Moon because we got nothing else going on. Pass the turn. So there's upsides and downsides to restrictions. I will say that playing Timeless with restrictions has made me enjoy restrictions more. I think it's worked out really well with Timeless, but the issue is basically that it adds more variance to the format, right? Like, if you look at a format like Vintage has a lot of restricted cards, but what happens a lot in Vintage is you just play all the restricted cards in every deck possible because they're really busted, and then you just play a lot of tutors and card draw to try to find the restricted cards. And I don't know if that's an especially great play pattern either. Ugh. Yeah, this feels like a really bad matchup. I don't know if that's a great play pattern either. So that's the downside. The upside is restrictions are a way that you can deal with problematic cards without banning them up outright. We see that in Timeless, for example, you have something like Channel, one of the most broken cards, I would say, in Magic's history. And restricting it to one copy has made it perfectly fine. Like, it doesn't even really see any play. Perfectly not problematic at all. So we have seen it work. So there is upside there. I think we just go down to Grazer. Oh, man, Shieldred. I don't know. Do we just cut the Blood Moons? I guess the Blood Moons don't do anything. So we're just going to bring in random artifacts that we were going to tutor up with Karn, I guess. And, like, Brothers at End. Like, bring in the Worm Coil, I guess. And maybe the God Pharaoh statue. Run it like that. Quickly getting to the reason I've always hated Blood Moon. The second one is awful. I mean, the first one was awful in this matchup. So I could see an argument for it. I guess the other argument would be against it is that it could add some complexity. Like, Band is pretty simple, but you can only play one copy, a little bit more complicated. I really don't like how every vintage deck is a pile of the same 10 restricted cards before you get to the actual deck. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens in restricted formats. I would give anything to have Eldrazi Mimic, Reality Smasher, and Eldrazi Temple be added to Arena, or even all the old Zendikar blogs. I feel like those additions of Eldrazi and Timeless would be legit and good. Yeah, Eldrazi Temple is the biggest thing I would say that's missing from Timeless Eldrazi. That's the big one. I've been playing a decent amount of Eldrazi decks on Arena, and the games where you have Ugin's Labyrinth, the deck feels really good. The games where you don't have Ugin's Labyrinth feels much less exciting. Caboose! Welcome to the Fishbowl for the 44th month. Thank you for your subscription. Big subscription for you. Thank you. So, chat, how many of you watched the Pro Tour this weekend? I'm curious what your thoughts of the Pro Tour were. Hey, what's up, Roger? Am I cooking too hard? Psychic Frog plus Life from the Loam for discard fodder. I am very intrigued by Psychic Frog. It's one of those cards that I haven't explored that much yet, but when I've seen it and a little bit I've played with it, I think it's actually really powerful. So I think you might be onto something. I think there might be something there. Skipped the top cut and skipped the decks. Yeah, I mean, it was at the end, it was all Nadu all the time. That's for sure. It's happening with MH1 and Hogak, but worse. Yeah. I mean, they just gotta ban it, right? That's the end of the issue. Is you just gotta ban it and be done with it. Oh no. Anytime I think of that family. Oh, come on now. That Family Guy. That episode where Peter just randomly jump up, start doing the dance. The bird is the word. The bird is. Everyone knows that the bird is the word. But yeah, Nadu is not a good card for Modern. So chat, explain this to me, because this is what I can't get over. We talked about it on the podcast a bit yesterday, but what I can't get over is, how did they possibly print that card? That's the question. That's the question that I cannot answer. Like, what was going on in Wizards' head design process to print Nadu? Like, it just befuddles my brain. But bird is the word. But how did they actually end up thinking that was a card to print? Because the entire community, when they read the card, was like, oh my god, this card is absurdly broken. What is up with these texts? Like, why did they put those words on it? They wanted to power creep Amulet Titan? I mean, it might be Nadu was for Commander and they didn't. I think it's possible that they didn't test it for Modern, or test it enough to get to some pretty obviously seeming things like Shuko and whatnot. But I mean, that was the Hogak defense, right? Like, the Hogak defense was, we didn't think of this as a Modern card. We thought it was a Commander card, so we never really bothered to test it or anything, because it's a Commander card. We didn't think anyone would even play it in Modern. We need to draw land here. Well, that is a land here. We get drained. I still don't know if this is enough, but boom, Inferno Titan, snipe a Grief and face. How good is Inferno Titan in 2024? Pass the turn. Opponent. Shieldred's so strong. The life gain opponent goes to combat attacks. We gotta trade, right? Do we trade, chat? Okay, do we have to actually math this out? So they hit us down to 8. We drop to 6 on our upkeep. We attack them back. We kill the Deathrite. We hit them for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But then if we can't chump block the Shieldred, we die in the backswing. If we do draw like a Cami or a Grazer, we could just race. The problem is if we don't block here and then we don't top deck something, then we can't really attack during our turn, and we're in a much worse position. Yeah, Wizards and balancing 3-mana Simic cards is not good. Yeah, I think we actually just have to block and hope we draw into something. That's actually really close. If we draw an Abriel Grazer this turn, I'm going to be very sad that we didn't just take this. All right. So Shieldred down for now. Well, okay. Well, make sure you're not playing Shieldred in the near future. Watch us just die to this Deathrite. Everyone talking about Nadu, but no one talking about the 50% play rate of the One Ring. Oh, the One Ring! The One Ring. 1,000,000% should be banned. I've been saying the One Ring should be banned for like 6 months or a year now. Like, it is not a realistic Magic card. Hey Seth, do you think the One Ring realistically gets banned sooner or later? I don't want to get stuck holding them if it does. Love the podcast episode yesterday. I have no faith that Wizards will ban the One Ring. Oh, there's the Grazer. I have no faith. I have no faith that they'll do it. I 100% think they should. I mean, actually, we talked about restrictions earlier. If there is any card in all of Magic that would be perfect for restricting, it's the One Ring. Because it's actually like a flavor win too. It's so perfect as a card to restrict. But I don't... Yeah, we're going to play this Grazer as a blocker. But I don't actually think they'll do it. I'm actually skeptical that they'll do it. We're going to blow up lands and lose to these Deathrites, draining us out of the game. Which is so sad. We did the thing. Oh, opponent. Deathrite mana. This is going to be the flawless loss. We're going to blow up every land and die. Opponent, Deathrite. Is this like a Necro? Oh god, Dark Ritual. Oh no! One land, one ring! Oh. Well, blow up your one land. Make a 4/4. Pass the turn. Opponent takes 1. Opponent draws with the One Ring. They can still make mana. The downside of these Deathrites is us blowing up lands is giving our opponent the mana to use. Phyrexian Tower. About it. I mean, we have One Rings too. We just... Oh, Cammy. We have One Rings too. We just haven't drawn them, unfortunately. Well, go to combat. Get in with the 4/4. About it. Are we taking it? Opponent's going to take the beats. Down to 10. Well, let's channel the Cammy. Without the One Ring, we need the One Ring to be able to refuel, right? That's kind of what we're missing here, is the One Ring to refuel. Well, pass the turn. I imagine they're going to activate Deathrites. Wow, they didn't even activate them. Well, okay. Do we kill the Deathrite? Do we wait? Let's wait. It might be more important to be able to kill Shieldred. It is turned on now. They didn't even activate the Deathrites last turn. They're down to 8. This is so close. This is so close. Hey, what's up, Cat Cam fan? Oh, did you see? So here's the other funny news. I don't know I don't know if anyone follows this, but I don't know. The Olympics are coming up. So they're doing like the trials for the Olympics. So if you want to be on like the American Olympic team, you got to win a race like against other Americans, and the top people get to go to the Olympics. But I don't know if you saw the current fastest man in the world. I think his name's like Noah Lyles or something. The current fastest man in the world, the person who's probably going to win the gold medal in the 100-meter dash, was doing the Olympic trials and talking about Magic and how much he loves playing Magic. The Yu-Gi-Oh guy, but he also really loves Magic. Oh no. Oh no. The Deathrite ate the land in the graveyard. And now our opponent gains a ton of life. Oh, come on now. Wow. Wow. Oh. Well played, opponent. Oh. And there's the land that would go in the graveyard, but there's a Shield Rid. Boo. Yeah, it's always cool to see. It's not a nerf to Unholy Heat. It just, we didn't have Delirium. It is the full Unholy Heat. Yeah, it's always cool to see people, because I think like when it comes to traditionally like nerdy hobbies, right? Like Magic, I think there's like a stereotype of the people that play it being, let's see. I'll show you. Hang on, I'll pull it up. It's actually pretty funny. I think there's a stereotype of like, oh, it's like gamers or nerds or whatever, but actually all kinds of people play Magic. Here's the clip of it. It's actually, I thought it was pretty good.
Magic the Gathering.
Excited.
Bro, no, really? Magic the Gathering? Yeah, bro, yeah. Let me know.
What are you talking about?
Magic the Gathering.
What's that?
It's a card game. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Yeah. It's fun. It is fun.
Nerds.
Bro, you have to come down. Me, Kendall, Stevens, we all play. Really? Kendall too? Yeah. Oh,
I'd rather not. I'd rather like paint my nails.
I only got like 6 decks.
Swim in the pool.
Easily like 20 decks.
So walk us through what it was like in Tokyo. What was like the chanting the crowd to
I swear, it's so good. She's like, nerd.
We haven't played in a while. I just taught Janelle how to play though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's, I think it's awesome to see because there's just that stereotype. You don't want athletes at your LGS. I assume that's probably gotta be a joke. I want everyone to play Magic. I want everyone. I imagine they play, that would be my guess. I believe the name is Noah Lyles, is the person who's the world champion, currently the fastest person in the 100-meter dash, all that stuff. I know, wouldn't that be sweet? I mean, Prof had Charlie over, right? Like, I would say in terms of level of fame, Moist Critical is probably more famous than Noah Lyles, honestly. So I think it doesn't seem that unrealistic. Do you have any recommendations for commanders to build a 5-color blink deck? So there's not really a 5-color blink commander. I will say that last match, I don't know if this deck is good. This deck might be horrible, but I will say mono black that doesn't care about Blood Moon is probably about the worst matchup this deck could imagine. As someone who never liked Commander, how do you get to like Commander? So what makes Commander great is the people you're playing it with. 100%. That is the only thing. Like, that's what makes Commander good. It's like a party game that you can play with your friends. So if you have a play group of people who are fun to play with and you enjoy playing with, Commander is a great way to just like, because in normal Magic, like are they gonna get their Arclight back already? Oh my god, they're gonna get all their Arclights back already. Well, gosh darn it. All right. Well, yeah, when this deck gets their draw, it's pretty good. Yeah, that's all the Arclights on turn 2. This is Arena. Magic Online looks a little bit more spreadsheety. Looks a smidge more like a spreadsheet. But But yes, Magic Online's down today, so we're playing Arena today. I think that Blood Moon's okay in this matchup. I don't know if I would say it's great in this matchup, but I think it's like okay. So that's all our opponent deck does. They're just like try to spin into Buried Alive, putting all the Phoenixes into play. The problem is the game is impossible to teach new players. I mean, that is one of the challenges of Arena, right? Or of Magic, is it is... Okay. If we had one land, this hand would actually be wonderful, but we do not. That is definitely one of the challenges of Arena, though. This hand is not great. It could be okay if we can draw... We need to draw a land next turn to channel the Kami to get another land so we can get the Karn. So we can get the Karn to get a Tormod's Crypt. If we can do that, we got a shot. So it really comes down to drawing a land this turn, essentially. About it. We want the Crypt to get with Karn. So we can bring in one of the Graveyard Hate pieces, but we got to leave at least one because we have 4 Karns in the deck. So our odds of finding the Crypt way higher with the 4 Karns than being a one of in the actual deck. Yeah, we haven't talked about Foundations yet. We haven't gotten to the spoilers at all. It's after this match, probably, we'll talk about Foundations, because I'm very, very curious what y'all think about Foundations. About it. Strike, get rich. Wait, do they just have the nut? Dark Ritual. How do we run into that nut draw twice in a row? Our opponent needs, for them to do that, they need Dark Ritual in hand, Strike it Rich in hand, or a second Dark Ritual in hand, and the Buried in Live in hand. It's like a 4-card combo. Yeah, I mean, Dark Ritual is just one of those cards that adds a lot of variance, right? I actually think, you know what's been more frustrating in Timeless lately is the combination of Invert Polarity and Mana Drain. Oh, like, all the counters are one thing, right? Like, I believe, even though people get frustrated by counters, I firmly believe that counters are an important aspect of Magic. That Magic would be worse without counter spells. But now there's 2 counters that have this super high variance that ranges from... I think Invert Polarity, it's a fun card to cast, but I think it's a frustrating card to play against, in the sense that with it and Mana Drain being in the same deck, there's a bunch of counters that range from counter your spell to win the game when I resolve. When it's like, oh, I invert polarity and I get your win condition off of it. Or, oh, I hit your Mana Drain and now I have 8 mana and I get my Lures and I recast my graveyard. It's like, oh my god. I have a good feeling that they'll add Blood Moon to either Dustborn or Foundations. The new Blood Moon, maybe Shadow Moon, we're all on basic lands or swamps, or Blood Moons are all basic lands or islands. I would be absolutely shocked. I would be shocked if they added Blood Moon to Standard. I don't think it's possible. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they would. Same with like adding Stone Rain, because Foundations, we're going to talk about Foundations in a minute. If you didn't see the Foundations announcement, Foundations is, you watch Jim Davis get his Emrakul stolen by Invert Polarity. I mean, yeah, 3 mana. Your Emrakul is mine. We'll play the Surveil land here, do a little surveilling. If you didn't see the announcement, we'll leave the land, I think. Next turn we can kill the Safekeeper and then play One Ring the following turn. If you didn't see the announcement, so Foundations is a new set that's dropping in November. It's a standard set. It's a full draftable set. It's kind of like a core set, essentially, right? The idea is it's going to be a mixture of reprints and non-reprints. And the quirk of this set is it essentially doesn't rotate from standard. Mark Rosewater actually clarified this. If you read the article, it says it doesn't rotate until 2029. There's no way they're going to second land here, I don't think. I would be surprised. It doesn't rotate until 2029, but actually they're hoping it doesn't rotate ever. But 2029 is is the, like, if it doesn't work out, at least we know there is some sort of end date that we can have. But essentially the idea is it's a pool of cards that will always exist in Standard. So you'll know that you will always have those cards. You don't got to ever worry about them rotating. I actually think it's a really cool idea. It's something we've talked about in the past, right? Like, what if the Budde lands from the core sets or something, the Scry lands, what if they just were always in Standard and you could buy them once and you knew that you would have access to them forever? I think it's actually like a really cool idea. I think it could be a big positive, especially since we live in this world where there's no, I mean, I guess kind of like Hearthstone, kind of, what is it called? Like, is it not classic, but they do have a pool of cards that always exists in Hearthstone Standard. Have they said how many sets, cards are going to be in it? I believe it's a full set, because they said it's a draftable set. So I believe it's an actual full 250 card, whatever set. The surprising part is the cards that they added to it. That's what really blew me away. So I'm excited for the idea of it, but the power level of the cards is actually surprisingly high. We'll get to the spoilers in a minute, but I gotta ask you, so what would you add to the set? What cards do you want to always exist in Standard? Yeah, I mean, especially with them not doing core sets anymore. I feel like this serves the core set purpose of having a spot that you can put the cards that don't go in any other set. Dispel's a good one. Slow lands. Muldrifter. Muldrifter would be a really good one. I wonder if Lightning Bolt could be possible. I actually think it's not 100% impossible that they could Lightning Bolt. Wait, so how do we die to this? Well, we're gonna first One Ring. So Samwise makes a food. Chatterfang. Does blowing up a land help us here, is the question. Farewell? No, not Farewell. Fable. Shieldred. We want Shieldred forever. The Wandering Emperor. Are the cards going to be legal in Pioneer 2? Yes. It's a normal Standard set, so it will be legal in all other formats. I kind of would like to see more of the OG cards, like the Rack or Black Flies. It would be cool to see, because the thing that I like about it is it kind of reminds me, you know what, if we die wheat. Is this a Yogg deck? It's got to be a Yogg deck. Let's blow up the Overgrown Tomb. Haha. I bet you wanted that land, didn't you there, crazy Canucker? Hello, crazier Canucker. Well, we will pass the turn. Play the Prismatic Vesta. Opponent untaps. No Yoggs for you. Not that we won't still just get comboed off somehow, but Power 9. But if you look back at the early years of Standard, I was thinking about this because one of the cards in the set, I'll give you a sneak peek. I think Duress is a very likely one, actually. That seems like the exact kind of card they put in there. Grey Merchant would actually be cool. But one of the cards in the set is Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves has a very long and storied history in Magic. Let's draw with the One Ring. We draw some removal. We can play Snow-Covered Wastes. How do we not die to our own One Ring? That's can we just win with Waking the Trolls? We probably got to kill things. Okay, let's. We might die to our own One Ring. Sowing Microspawn. Kick it. Get rid of that green source. Grab a land. It will be a Wooded Foothills. Blow it up. One land in play. Get a 3/3. Pass the turn. We can crack this to get a red source to bolt something if necessary. Opponent finds a Surveil land. Oh, we're going to do it. The land destruction is actually working. Opponent. We can block this, right? Oh, we have forests. All right. This is kind of painful, but I think it's worth it. Stomping Grounds. Untapped. Lightning Bolt. The Chatterfang. We take... Oh, that's a good draw. That's a really, really good draw. One Ring. Draw some cards. Stone Raid. Blow up your Surveil land. And then one ring. Legend Rule the One Ring. Stomping Grounds, untapped. Down to 3. Go to combat, get it and hit you. With the Zoe Microspawn. Are we going to get a flawless victory? Is a flawless victory in our future? We will discard a Kami. Opponent draws a single. Oh, they drew another land. Okay. Opponent cracks. Well, let's Unholy Heap the Samwise real quick. Get that out of here. One land. Fetch land on the stack. Fetch land on the stack. Oh, I do love blowing up lands. Have I ever told you that before, that I really like blowing up lands? Opponent gets a swamp. Hey Seth, if anyone can do it, I think you can. A modern playable deck with Brimaz King of Oresco. It feels like a new cast from MH3 has some sort of shell to be there. I mean, Ajani's really good. Ajani's really good. Well, now we will go for the seal deal here. Actually, this is even better, right? 1, 2, 3. Let's create 2 forests out of thin air. And then play a land. Waking the Trolls, our saga finisher. Lore counter 1, blow up a land. Lore counter 2, reanimate a land. Lore counter 3, make a number of 4/4 trolls equal to the difference between the lands you control and your opponent controls. Blow up that swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent. Bowmasters, down to 2. Man, if we die after all this, I'm going to be so sad. Opponent pings us. We've blown up so many lands. The trolls are coming. The trolls are coming. The trolls are coming. Pass the turn. Do you think that Thoughtseize could return to standard due to power creep? I think that standard is being power crept. I don't know if they'll put Thoughtseize in standard, because last time they put Thoughtseize in standard, a lot of people complained about Thoughtseize in standard. We'll take your swamp, and then we will play a Karn the Great Creator. We will tutor with Karn the Great Creator.
You will not threaten this world.
We will take a Liquid Metal Coating. We will play a Liquid Metal Coating. Play a Forest. Play another One Ring. Stop on your upkeep. No attacks. Upkeep. Turn that land into an artifact. Opponent gonna float a mana. I can't believe our opponent's sticking this out. Our opponent's living up to their name. About it. Yeah, Ruby Storm. We didn't talk about that at the Pro Tour. Ruby Storm was the hardest of flops. My goodness. Well, okay, here comes the trolls. Here comes the trolls. 10 of the trolls. Liquid Metal Coating. Target that. Karn. Eat it. 0 lands. Inferno Titan. Flawless? Is this a flawless victory? Is it a flawless victory? Flawless victory. Out of here. Out of here. Blood Moon just in case. Play the lamb. Blood Moon just in case. Get in there. Hit ya. A new Titan cycle would be sweet. Come on. No land. No land. No land. No land. No land. Did we do it? Did we do it? I think we might have did it. Soul Priest! Welcome to the Fish Bowl. Thank you so much for your subscription. Big super for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so the spoilers for MTG Foundations. Well, let's respectfully kill our opponent here real quick. Oh, we even have an extra Stone Rain. Get in there. Ping ya. To the face. Opponent, thank you for sticking it out. Thank you for dying. So here's what we saw from Foundations. So here's what surprised me. So it didn't surprise me that they announced this set. I think this set makes a lot of sense. I think we want a core set in standard. I even like the non-rotating idea that we've talked about in the past before. What surprised me is when they spoiled cards, one of them was Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves is a card that over the past, remind me, Fraxy, and I will explain the loop to you. Over the past 15 years, going back to like M10 and M11 era, It's shown up in Standard once, I want to say. Like, maybe it was twice in a row, because it was Dominaria, and then I think they printed it in the next core set. So it was like maybe a 2-year period. But in general, they don't let Llanowar Elves in Standard, because they think 1-mana mana dorks are too good. They also said that they thought 4-mana Rasps were too good at one point. This has kind of changed, and we've gotten more of them. But even Day of Judgment, which is kind of just a very simple, clean card, this was a card that for a long time they wouldn't put in Standard. If Standard's power level, the non-rotating power level of Standard, is Llanowar Elves, Day of Judgment, Anthem of Champions, I think it's a pretty safe set that, Standard's going to be pretty powerful for the next 5 years. Like, if this is the baseline, and this baseline was cards that a few years ago they wouldn't even print into Standard because they thought they were too good, we're going to have some really, really strong power creepy Standards. One thing I will say that I really like, and I started to say this before, if you go back to the earliest days of Magic, like the early 90s, a card like Llanowar Elves, or how about Wrath of God? Day of Judgment's a later version, but go with Wrath of God. They were always in Standard. They weren't in Standard because of a set like Foundations that just didn't rotate. But if you go back to the earliest days of Magic, do we need a sideboard? I guess we actually need a sideboard. All right, let's sideboard real quick, and I'll finish this story. One of you, maybe one of you, and I want the Blood Moon. All right, one rank. Let's do it like that. But if you go back to the earliest days of Magic, a card like Llanowar Elves was always in Standard because there was a core set every year, and they always print it in a core set. So Llanowar Elves, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, Missed 8th, 9th, 10th. It was like the first 20 years of Magic. It was in literally every single Standard because they would just always print it in the core set. So I think this is going to actually kind of bring us back to that era. Same with like Wrath of God. Wrath of God is another card that was essentially just always in Standard in the earliest days of Magic because they'd always put it in the core set. It was in Alpha and Beta. It showed up in Revised, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So for the first 15 years of Magic, every single time it was in Standard. Hey, Jim, thank you for the raid. Stone Rain, too. I don't think they're going to put a Stone Rain back in Standard as much as I would like them to. My theory on Stone Rain, hey, hope you had a good stream, Jim. Thank you so much. My theory on Stone Rain is I don't think that the Arena generation of Magic players would be able to deal with Stone Rain in Standard. I think us boomer Magic players who've played older formats or are used to playing through stacks and mana denial, like if that's something you're used to, you'd probably be fine with it. But I think the generation of players who started in the Arena era, I don't think it would be a positive for them. I think there would be people like me would enjoy it, and then all the people who play Arena and start in the last 5 years would just quit playing Magic because of it. So I think that's the reason why it's unlikely. Warren Soul Trader, eh? Well, let's crack this. Grab a mountain, and we're going to start Stone Rain. And they did cash in their food. Unfortunately, Soul Trader can make a lot of mana. Although, if we can get down a Karn. If we can get down a Karn, it looks kind of different. Because then we can stop the treasures. Well, that's Stone Rain. Blow up. Does it matter? They both play black. One makes green. I imagine green's more important than white. Let's blow up the Overgrown too. So yeah, I'm actually very excited for Standard maybe feeling like super old school core setty Standard, which is something we just haven't had in a long time. And the new cards, I think, are also pretty powerful. Like, at least they have potential to be. Having Omniscience, not a new card, but having Omniscience in Standard all the time is just kind of funny. Like, that was one I wasn't expecting. But like Anthem of Champions, you can see where they're going with this. It's a super, very clean Anthem. It's just like a very clean card. Anyone can understand this. We were just talking about how complicated it is to learn Magic, how hard it is to teach new players. Something like Anthem of Champions, 2-mana enchantment, your creatures get +1/+1. Brand new players can kind of gronk that. It's very easy to understand, but it's still a powerful effect. That's still a very strong effect that decks could actually take advantage of. So I really like the tiny bit that we've seen from this set though so far. I think this set's really heading in a good direction. I'm afraid of the 5-year cycle of Foundations means a lot of cards are going to power crep well before the end date passes. Power creep is a concern. I think power creep is kind of off the rails at this point, though. I don't know if there's any getting around it. I think we are in the era of power creep. Feels like we're going back to standard from... Ooh, that's a blood moon. I think we have to keep that. So I think what we do here... so we could Stone Rain. How do we want to do this? How do we want to take this turn? So we can Stone Rain, blow up a land. They still have the Soul Trader. We can kill the Soul Trader. We're at 12. Oh, if we dismember the Soul Trader, we're not taking that much damage. This is actually a tricky turn. The Surveil land was actually very awkward. If it was a non-tap land, this turn would be much easier. Well, okay, we're just gonna do what we came here to do. Blow up your lands. We're gonna blow up your lands. Yeah, it might be too greedy to let the Soul Trader live. We'll see. Next turn we can, so if we blow up the land this turn, next turn we can Blood Moon plus dismember the Soul Trader. And then the next turn we can Karn to shut down the treasure production, assuming, oh boy, okay. Wait, so opponents, aren't they, isn't this infinite-ish? This is infinite-ish, right? Like, Soul Trader sack this, you make a treasure and a squirrel. I'm pretty sure this is infinite-ish. Yeah, so they have Soul Trader. You sack it, you make a treasure, right? Sack the goose, make a treasure. That'll make Chatterfang make a squirrel. So you can then sack the squirrel to make a treasure, which will make a squirrel. So you make infinite limited by life total. So you can either make 14 treasures or 14 squirrels. Which is enough to beat an Emrakul, right? We have determined. How do we stay alive here? We can Blood Moon, but they still have the treasures. All right, we got a Blood Moon. Maybe our opponent doesn't know that they are as infinite as they are. Pass the turn. Wow. Wow. I don't think our opponent understands. Dismember. Dismember what? We have to dismember something. I guess we can wait. The problem is Chatterfang has Forest Walk, so we can't even chump that. Dismember is going to cost us 4 life. About it. Attacks. So if we block here, dismember the Chatterfang. Down to 5. Opponent gonna sack the goose. Wait, did they actually know the combo? They just didn't go for it? Okay. Once upon a time, sure. Sure, they just need that treasure from Once Upon a Time. I don't know if they know. I don't know if our opponent knows that they have a combo. About it. No, they definitely don't. All right, sure. So I get a treasure. Oh, this is going to give him lethal, though, because of the halfling. We were hoping that we could go to 1 in Karn and then tutor up something to keep us alive, but this Delighted Halfling is actually enough damage to be lethal. Well, okay. Okay, that's a blocker. This isn't insane or anything, but that is a blocker. We'll grab a 4. Do we need the waste? Yeah. And we'll take the forest for now. Take the forest. Pass the turn. This is a blocker. This is a blocker. We're not dead yet. Yeah, I don't know if our opponent realized how much they could do with that synergy, because they're at a pretty high life total. So I would think you would just like make a bunch of do a bunch of sacking, make a bunch of things. Ornithop, ooh, Soren. I bet it would be Soul Attendant or like an updated version of it. But I think that would be the kind of card. Wow, they're not attacking. Oh my god, we drew a lightning. Wow. Oh, we have no business winning this game. We have literally no business winning this game if we do. It should not be happening. Card tutor.
I will not stop.
We'll take what? We only have 1 mana. 1 ring? Maybe the 1 ring. Is this pre-recorded? No, it feels like it. I don't know how our opponent's choosing to make the plays that they're making, but I guess we're not going to complain. Is it still just a 1 ring? Yeah, let's take a 1 ring. Take the 1 ring. Pass the turn. So the Karn shuts down the treasures, so we don't have to worry about mana from that. This makes functional mana, but only for legends? Let's just wait. Let's just wait. They can have their deleted halfling for now. Opponent. Draws. Combat. Micro spawn. Holding down the fort. Holding down the fort. Opponent. Oh no, opponent. There's a Karn. This is not going to do what you hope. Would you like to sack your treasure to make some mana? Opponent. Maybe they just wanted to trigger Revolt. Wow, passing. Oh my god, that's Inferno Titan. Well, we will take down the Karn.
I will rid you of your corruption.
Grab another 1 ring. Play a 1 ring. Get a little protection. Yeah, opponents were teaching Arena Zoomers about Planeswalker static abilities. Draw with the 1 ring. Play the land. Pass the turn. Oh, now hopefully our opponent tries to attack the Karn to get her off the battlefield, and we can just fully blow him out with this lightning bolt. Opponent combat. Attacks. We will block the delighted halfling. And lightning bolt the soul traitor. Bonus exit in response. Bolt it. Oh, so good. 1 ring. Draw some cards. Play the land. Play the 1 ring. Legend rule. Stone Rain. Blow up a land. Nice mountain opponent. Take up the Karn. Karn, eat a treasure.
Allow me to
And pass the... How can this go wrong? Can we get... We're gonna attack. Hopefully there's not a way we get... Watch them play a Dash of Ragavan or something. How do I find true... Have you considered, Jen and I, have you considered trying land destruction? It's actually super simple. Just stick more Blood Moons in your deck. Is anyone in your team coming to Baltimore at the end of the month? Not that I'm aware of. Wow. That was actually... We got a flawless victory in game 1. And then that game, we somehow, thanks to maybe our opponent, maybe learning their deck, I think, potentially. But I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Like, if they actually made a bunch of treasures, would it have changed that game? It probably... There was one turn where it might have before the Karm came down, but... Okay, so someone asked, and I promised I would explain the Endurance Loop. So, if you look at the Pro Tour, if you're waiting for the Endurance Loop, here it is. So, if you watch the Pro Tour, the winning deck was Bant Nadu. How about DC in October? DC is less likely because because of Las Vegas happening in October as well. So probably won't make that one just because of Vegas. Did you see the equivalent of the chalice checking Simon did against Javier? Ooh, wait. No, I didn't notice that. What did Simon do? What was the chalice checking? Man, Javier had an interesting tournament because he also got cheated. Well, cheated, right? Like Van Etten or whatever, who who did the sneakiness with the wicked roll on the Not Dead After All and ended up getting DQ'd for it. He guessed Sun Cleanser to 1 ring protection and it worked. Oh. I could see missing that, actually. I mean, that's definitely incorrect, right? Let me read Sun Cleanser. Does it say target on it? Remove all counters. Target opponent loses all counters. Yeah, it does definitely target. Interesting. It should still keep you from getting... Oh, no. Wait. Does it just fizzle Sun Cleanser forever? So, obviously, you can't target your opponent with it. I assume that also means, since it says that player can't get counters, since you couldn't target the player to begin with, that player wouldn't refer to anything. So does that mean the Sun Cleanser is just like a 1/4? It's not a trigger, though. You can't miss it. But I mean, like... Okay, yeah, trigger would not be the right word, but like, you can still play your Sun Cleanser. You just can't actually target anyone with it. I think that's how it would play out, right? Like, you can definitely legally play the Sun Cleanser. It just wouldn't do anything other than be a 1/4. Yeah, I missed that one. So here's how this loop works for the people who are asking. So Nadu's the hotness. How does this deck win? There's no Thassa's Oracle. It is incredibly convoluted. So here's the TLDR of how this works. So you play Nadu. You play a Springheart Nantucket. You do the Nadu combo with Shuko. If you have those cards, Nadu, Springheart, Shuko, you should realistically draw your entire deck. Yes, you could fizzle, whatever, but generally once it gets going, you're going to draw your entire deck. So let's say you draw your entire deck. Once you draw your entire deck, how do you actually win with this pile? So the idea is, you draw your entire deck, and then what you need to do is you need to play a Sylvan Safekeeper. Sylvan Safekeeper lets you sacrifice your lands. So you need to play the Sylvan Safekeeper, then you're going to sacrifice all your non-pain lands that can make mana. Forests, Urza's Sagas, your Yavimaya, your Etwara. So you sack all those lands to your Sylvan Safekeeper, putting a bunch of triggers targeting one of your tokens that you made, so it'll trigger Nadu. So let's say you sack 10 lands. You're also going to have 10 Nadu triggers. With the Nadu triggers on the stack, you flash an Endurance to shuffle all those lands that you just sacrificed back into your graveyard. So now all the Nadu triggers are going to put those same lands back into play untapped. You can do this loop as many times as you want, because the next step is you're going to put another Springheart Nantucket on the Endurance. So once you get the Springheart Nantucket on the new Endurance, you use Sylvan Safekeeper. Well, first you tap all your lands for mana, use Sylvan Safekeeper to sacrifice all those lands, and then with the Nadu triggers that you generate from Safekeeper, you can pay for Nantucket to make a copy of Endurance to shuffle all those lands back in again. This essentially gives you infinite mana. It's going to give you infinite mana, but it actually does even more than that, because the deck has Waterlogged Grove. So after you make infinite mana, the last piece of the puzzle is you can do the same thing where you're sacking lands to shuffle them back into your deck to get them with Nadu triggers thanks to Endurance, but you're going to shuffle back in Waterlogged Grove in Etwara, and then use a Waterlogged Grove. Hopefully you hit that first, and you put it into play, and then you tap it to actually draw the Etwara so it doesn't go on the battlefield, and then using your infinite mana, use Etwara to bounce all of your opponent's permanents by going through that loop. And then, the last piece of the puzzle, you do that same loop with the Horizon land, Waterlogged Grove, but with Beseiju to blow up all of your opponent's non-basic lands. At this point, you have infinite Endurances. You probably have a Bristly Bill, so your creatures are infinitely big. You have infinite tokens. Your opponent has no non-land permanents. They have no non-basic lands. You pass the turn to your opponent, and you say, if you can beat me somehow, then I guess you could beat me, which you're not going to be able to beat you. So that is... that is how you win with this deck. And I will warn you, Don't do this on Magic Online. No, no, no. Like, literally, you cannot play these Pro Tour builds on Magic Online. You will not be able to execute the combo if your opponent makes you play it out. And some opponents will make you play it out before you run out of time. It is just literally impossible to do it before you run out of time. So I think if you're playing on Magic Online, you really need to play Thassa's Oracle. Even though it's like makes the deck worse or whatever, you got to play the Thassa's Oracle because there is just no way you're going to go through that loop on Magic Online. Odds of Nadu getting banned when they're back in the office next week. Should they ban Nadu next week? 1,000,000%. Yes, 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 yes. Will they ban Nadu next week? I expect no. I expect they will stick to their schedule, which is the end of August. And in the meantime, there'll be a lot of complaints about Modern. So that's my expectation. My main hope is when they do announce the bannings, and this I have a little bit of faith in, I actually really think that they're going to ban Nadu itself. If they don't ban Nadu itself, it is the ultimate disaster. Like, that's the worst outcome, right? Is 2 months go by until we get to the BNR update. They announce the BNR and they ban Shuko or something. They ban Court of Calling. Plus we get 2 months of people saying play more removal, which is maybe we won't hear it this time because Nadu literally triggers when there's removal. Ooh, the Moto. Okay, so for the Moto deck list, do you want the tinfoil hat version or the non-tinfoil hat version? Can we keep both of those? We kind of need this Cammy maybe to make lands, but we want maybe Mike. All right, let's just put Grazer to the bottom. Okay, so do you want the tinfoil? So you probably notice if you go to mtggoldfish.com, a pretty good website, I would say, and you go to a metagame page. Right now, there's kind of no deck list. Standard, insufficient data. Rotation is taking place. Ignore that. We gotta update that. But there's not deck lists from the past like week. Well, I guess there's what is there? Oh, there's a Lexington PTQ, but most of the formats are missing deck lists. So here's what happened. Magic Online, Jackie Natona, welcome to the Fishbowl. And also Phyrexia Manadork, welcome you to the Fishbowl. Big scoop cheer for both of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Magic Online, now run by Daybreak Games, they announced that they were going to start publishing literally all the data for Magic Online, which would be so amazing. So this would be all the wins, all the losses, the whole thing, an API that shows off all the data. They announced this, and then right after they announced it, they stopped publishing deck lists altogether. So one possibility is their new system of publishing everything is buggy, and it's been 2 weeks and they just haven't got it worked out yet. So that's one possibility. Oh, wait, Wizards actually said that they didn't cause them to do it? Oh, that's good news, because the tinfoil hat version is Wizards has a thing about data not being published. We've experienced this many times in the past. And that Wizards told them, like, you can't actually do this. So, well, if Wizards actually confirmed, I didn't hear that. If Wizards actually confirmed that they didn't tell Daybreak not to do it, then my expectation is Daybreak's just trying to figure out how to get the new system going, and the deck list will come soon. In the short term, it does make the metagame page a little bit awkward to not have any deck lists. But as long as Wizards isn't shutting it down, which it sounds like they're not only will the deck list be back, it'll be better than ever. Because in between saying they don't really heed Moto data, it's going to be so cool. Daybreak is a real bad company. Honestly, so when Daybreak took over Magic Online, that is all I heard from people. Because I didn't know who Daybreak was. All I heard was Daybreak's not a great company. It's where games go to die. They'll just kind of keep games alive, but not really do anything for them. And they'll slowly shrivel. So I was prepared for the worst. I was thinking that it was going to be a bad thing, right? That Daybreak was this weird, sketchy company and Wizards just didn't want Magic Online. But my experience has been literally the opposite of that. The last year with Daybreak running Magic Online has been the best year for Magic Online maybe ever, or in like many years. Like, they're actually supporting it, they're adding more cards, they're doing creator programs, they're lowering prices, they're adding new player decks. So they're doing all this stuff that wasn't actually happening when Wizards was running Magic Online. So I have been absolutely like blown away, because it was just not what I was expecting. When I heard people talking about Daybreak, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be like, you know, not good. But it's been the opposite. It's been like super incredibly great for Magic Online. So I'm super thankful for how, and Daybreak has been like very responsive. Like, if there's an issue, you can just reach out and talk to them, or go to their Discord and they'll actually like, it's just like night and day compared to how it was. So I've been very impressed with how Daybreak has run Magic Online. Wow, free win. Yeah, it's been surprising, but in a really good way. Yeah, so that'll mean, what that means, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember, back in the early days, I wonder if I can find this. So back in the early days, this is 2015. Wow, 2015, that's almost a decade ago, 9 years ago. So back in the early days of Goldfish content, one of the things that we would do that was really popular, and I really enjoyed because I'm kind of a stats nerd, but we would do these articles where we would get data from like thousands and thousands of games from Magic Online. And then we would figure out exactly like how the matchups worked. We would know, like, if you're playing a Tarka Red, you're gonna like do well against this deck, you're gonna do poorly. What if you take out certain cards or sideboard differently? What happens if your deck has, you know, this card versus that card? And you can actually get the data for all of those things. So we did it for Standard, we did it for Modern. It was really cool. I loved it. But then once we started doing these articles, Wizards sent us a thing saying, like, stop doing this, please. And if you don't stop doing it, we're gonna like take down the ability to watch Magic Online replays, which is how we were collecting the data. So Wizards asked us to stop doing it. We stopped doing it because we figured, well, to be nice to Wizards, and also because we figured they would take down the data. Other places didn't stop doing it, so they actually did, like, disable the replays, so you couldn't even gather the data anymore. So it's been 10 years since we could do this, but we could actually make, like, matrices of all the matchups. You can do so many cool things with this data. So I'm actually super hyped. If it does work out the way Daybreak is saying, I am super hyped for, like, the potential of what we can do with all this data that's going to be coming out of Magic Online. I mean, there is arguably downsides for it. If you listen to the podcast from, was it this week or last week, where Richard's kind of had a change of heart because he also loves data. Richard, much like me, is very much like Wizards should be publishing the data. But with the like power creep and stuff, Richard now is kind of like, I do have a bit of a fear that like it'll make things be salved more quickly than things get salved already, which is actually like one of the arguments that Wizards would use against publishing the data back then. Is Daybreak letting us see the data? Is there a link to the article? So they announced that they're, if anyone has a link, put it in there. But they announced that they are going to, they're in the process of creating an API where you can just have all the data for all the leagues, all the matches. So yeah, they actually announced that. That's why haven't been deck lists in a couple of weeks, because they're trying to get that system up and running apparently. Yeah, we'll get to know exactly how dominant Nadu really is. Oh man, mono black again. That's a downside to playing a Blood Moon deck, is when you run into the mono-color decks, it's so bad. It's so bad. Any chance we play with Flipwalkers today? Have you played with a Johnny yet? Actually, that was a backup deck. After this match, we'll switch over. We'll see. This might be a quick match. After this, we'll switch over and play the Mardu deck that has a Johnny and also Sorin in it. We'll do, and some scamming too. Opponent. Oh, the other thing we haven't talked about, chat, which was on my list for today, is what about Duskmourn? So we got a bunch of Duskmourn spoilers from the preview panel at the Magic Con, and I think they look really cool. I did hear some criticism. Some people, so the theme is modern horror, right? The theme is modern horror. That's kind of what they're going for. And there's like, it's like horror movies from the 70s, 80s, 90s, stuff coming out of TVs and kind of that kind of stuff. I kind of like the theme. I don't know if I talk about it much, but I like horror movies quite a bit. I go through phases. Where I watch lots of horror movies, and then I don't watch horror movies for like a year or something. But then I'll go through a phase where I like watch a whole bunch of horror movies. So I actually like really kind of like horror movies, and it's cool to see some of the references. So maybe it's just my personal biases, but like this showcase Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Chainsaw, it's clearly a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference. It's even got the chainsaw over the head. Like, if you've ever seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as soon as I saw the showcase, like, it's the iconic end scene of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they're driving off in the truck and he's like dancing with the chainsaw. So I don't know if they'll get to Human Centipede. That might be a little much for Watsy. That might be across the line. But I think the horror theme actually looks super cool. Oh, see, I don't really watch that many zombie movies, so I've actually never watched Evil Dead. I immediately thought Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, some of the horror, one of the downsides of horror movies is they'll make a good horror movie of something, and then they'll make like 20 bad ones of the same something. Budde gets in. Down to 8. Gonna need something to stop this troll. Can a Karn do it? So we can play Karn. I don't know if Karn actually does do it. So we play Karn. We might as well play a ticket down. Need to watch Evil Dead. I know Evil Dead's like a classic.
I will not lose another friend.
Haven't watched it. Is there actually a massacre scene in Texas Chainsaw? It's actually, so the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is pretty much, if you've ever watched a horror movie where there's like a bunch of teenagers and a killer that's killing them and one person gets away, like that type of like the formulaic horror movie. I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of created that. So I think it's kind of formulaic in that sense, but they did it before everyone else. So I think that's where they came from. But it's kind of, there's not really a massacre as much as it's a slasher type thing, but it's like the original slasher. And it's also like the thing that makes me really love Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, and it's something that most horror movies aren't able to replicate, hardly any of them, but the whole thing, like, if you've seen it, it's very just discomforting, the entire movie, just the way all the characters act, the way, like, it's, the whole thing is just kind of like, has you on edge. Like, it starts off with this scene where they pick up a hitchhiker and they're driving in their van, and just like the aura and the vibes of this hitchhiker, and not doing any like thing crazy or horrific, but it's just like, it's kind of creepy through the whole thing, and it manages to like somehow keep that vibe through the entire movie, which I think is actually like super impressive. Even like the not horror parts just have this like creepiness to them. It's very unsettling, yeah. And I think that's what makes it so good, like, is it manages to do that. Well, we're dropping to 3. So we have a 1 ring. I don't know how we actually, is there actually a way we can realistically get out of this from here? Not really. So we can play a 1 ring to yeah, we're just gonna scoop. Yeah, I'll have to watch Evil Dead. I heard that Krim isn't streaming for a bit. Are you taking over daily scoops? Why Krim is out? No, Krim, he's still going to be able to, I don't think he's missing any videos. So his stream, I think he's not going to be able to stream because he's going to be out for a while. But the videos on the YouTube, I believe the plan is that he will continue like normal. So I don't think he's planning on missing any of them. YouTube's a little bit easier, right? Because you can like record them ahead of time or like work around your schedule a lot more than a stream where you have to be there at a specific time. So yeah, the YouTube stuff I think might be a little weird with some podcasts. That might be a little hit or miss over the next few weeks, but yeah, the normal YouTube stuff will be good. Will Tomer be back to Commander? Yes. Tomer was away at Amsterdam. He was away at Amsterdam, and then He's off to Brazil for a couple of weeks. But once he gets back, we're going to switch over the seasons of Commander Clash in August. And Tomer will be back full-time Commander Clash for next season. And also, I mean, this is probably a given, but based on how we feel about it and the response from all of you, definitely doing more paper next season for Commander Clash. So sticking with the paper theme for now. What is your feedback now? I'm curious. I don't know if I've ever actually asked this. So Commander Clash, we switched over to doing paper games at the start of this past season. So it's been a whole season now, almost. We got a few episodes left, but pretty much a whole season of paper. What do you think from your perspective? Do you like the paper versus moto? What did you prefer? What are any upsides, down, any feedback at all about Commander Clash stuff? I'd love to hear it. I mean, the plan as of now is to keep paper for sure. How about some paper gameplay? Paper gameplay is a possibility for non-commander formats. It is possible. The challenge of paper gameplay is you need multiple people, right? So I don't think it would be very hard to ever have mostly paper content, because if I want to play an against the odds deck, I can just go on Arena or go on Magic Online and record that deck in like a somewhat competitive setting. If you want to record paper Magic of like standard or modern, you need to have another person there to play with you. So that's kind of the challenging part. That's the tricky part. But I think for like special things, I think we might have some paper gameplay. I think like some of the like crossover stuff that I've done with Phil, some of the stuff like that, I could see some of that stuff being in paper for some themes rather than being on Arena or whatever. Have you ever thought about having a guest on your stream? Also, have you done MH3 Ooh, Buried Alive. Uh-oh. Oh my god, we can get them. They're not expecting the turn 2 Karn. They're going to Buried Alive off the Dark Rit. We're going to Karn to get the Tormod script, and we are going to make our opponent very, very sad. Also, I request putting your camera where your deck is. Oh, so the layout. You think the layout... So you'd rather have the cameras on the outside and the decks on the inside? Interesting. Have you seen the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I haven't regret watching it, although I will make my friends watch it since they haven't seen it. So Tuca, is that the one that's like the young couple that are trying to like turn a town into they're like buying a town and gonna make it their like utopia or whatever? If it's that one, yeah, I did see that one. It was okay, I guess. Medium. It wasn't great. I will say the influencer one. Yeah, I did see it because it popped up on Netflix, but I don't know. I don't really like any of the other Texas Chainsaw Massacres. I like the original quite a bit. I don't know if you've ever seen, there is one from the 80s, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from like 1980 something. And I swear it might be the worst movie I've ever seen. Actually, no, that can't be true. Have you ever seen the Boondock Saints? The original Boondock Saints, that was kind of like a cult classic, and I still like kind of like it. Like it's just kind of like a fun movie. But Boondock Saints 2, oh my god, it is. Oh man, it hurts. It hurts to try to watch it. Oh, it's so that's actually, I think, the worst movie I've ever seen is Boondock Saints 2. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is oh really? You like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? I thought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was so bad. That's the one with like the radio station, right? They're like in a radio station and part of it. Maybe I got to give it another chance. I thought it was so bad that I turned it off like halfway through. Actually, when it comes to horror movies, some of my favorites are actually Rob Zombie movies. Although I haven't watched Rob Zombie's Halloween, but like, what's the like trilogy of Rob Zombie movies? I really like those ones. I thought those were really good. I think Rob Zombie has a like unique voice when it comes to filmmaking. That just like the aesthetics of it and like the visuals of it. Yeah, like the House of a Thousand Corpses, that trilogy. Friday the 13th is kind of a classic. I think we just stone right here, actually. Out of Here Swamp. Yeah, I've seen a lot of horror movies, actually. Like I said, I go through phases where for like a month, whenever I watch anything, it's going to be a horror movie. And then I just move on and I don't watch horror movies for like a year. And then I'll go through a phase. So I've seen so many different horror movies. What was the last one I watched? I watched one recently. It was like, oh, it was so cheesy. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It was so bad. It had something to do with like, it was like a haunted house movie. It was on, I think through Hulu, maybe Shudder, or maybe it was through Prime on Shudder. But it was like this haunted house movie, and the gimmick was like these real serial killers like escaped from some secret serial killer place and took over the haunted house. But all the people going through the haunted house thought it was just part of the haunted house, but people were actually like getting slashed up or whatever. Oh, it was just so like B-movie, so B-movie painful. Good movie I saw recently was a Korean film called The Gangster, the Cop, and the Devil. Ooh, I don't know that one. That is exactly, wow, I can't believe you know that. I can't believe you know the name of that movie because it was so cheesy. But yes, I think it was actually called Hellfest. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Have you ever thought about having guests on the stream? So if you had like Tomer on the stream a couple of times and people like that, but doing more with guests could be a really cool idea. Who would you, oh, I forgot that we didn't use Karen that turn. Oops. Who would you like to see as a guest? Who would you like to see as a guest? Do you think that Wizards will ever print a vanilla card in Standard again? What would it take for it to be playable? I would be surprised if Wizards printed, wow, they're just ticking it up. I would be surprised if Wizards printed a playable vanilla creature in Standard. I think it's very likely that they will print a vanilla creature. It's almost, I think, unavoidable that they'll print a vanilla creature, but I think it's very unlikely that it will be good. What would it take for a vanilla creature to be good in Standard? So we have 5-mana 10/10s. They're not good. We have 5-mana 10/10s. We have 1-mana 2/2s. It would have to be like, I think it would have to be a 1-mana 3/3 would probably be like a Watch Wolf that costs 1 mana. I think would probably be a playable aggro creature. So like a Wild Mikado without any restrictions on it. I think that would be a playable creature. At 2 mana, it's got to be like 6 mana maybe. Or a 6/6, a 5/5, 2 mana 5/5 maybe. Like the issue is there's just so much good removal, right? And then the other thing you got to consider is you could argue that Yargle and Mutani is a playable vanilla creature, but the way that it's a playable vanilla creature isn't because you're necessarily playing and attacking and blocking with it. It's because you're discarding it to Krakenwit Cremator or you're flinging it. So if you get too high with the power, it turns into a combo piece rather than a creature, which kind of defeats the purpose to some extent, I think. Ash Lizzle does some From Standard and Historic streams, been featured on Official Magic YouTube. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I hadn't really thought about like trying to do more guest stuff, but that's a super cool idea. I'll have to see if we can do some more guests. Well, let's play the land. I think we're just gonna Myco spawn with Kicker. I mean, we came here to destroy lands. So, eat a swamp. Grab a... Yeah, let's grab a fetch. Let's grab a Wooded Foothills. Eat a land. Take up Karn. And pass the turn. Three lands. 3 more to go. The movie you're talking about, was it The Cabin in the Woods? It was not. That was not the one I was talking about, but I do know what that one is. I tried to watch, what was the... Oh, what's the one with the people with the masks on? the Strangers. I tried to watch because I saw there was a promo for like, oh, there's gonna be a movie, The Strangers, like coming out soon. So I tried to watch the original one, and my God, that movie was slow. It was very suspenseful, I guess, but it was kind of too slow for me to actually really. I fast forwarded through parts of it. That was like the original one from like the 90s or whatever it was. Yeah, some inspiring Spike stuff that's a really good idea. Yeah, I think more collab stuff is something I should look into. Well, we have successfully thinned our deck of lands. We will untap. We will draw. So we got to blow up 3 more lands somehow. Well, that's Awakening the Trolls. That's pretty good. Well, let's draw with a One Ring. There's a Stone Rain. Stone Rain your swamp. Okay, doing it. So get that out of here. We will tick down the Karn. Karn can get a God Pharaoh statue. Play that. The way our opponent could win would be the Sorin. I think that's the only realistic way of our opponent winning this game. Getting Hitcha. Sorin. Lightning Bolt. We just need the Sorin not to be able to put something big into play, because our opponent is not going to be able to cast anything through this God Pharaoh statue. Play the land. Pass the turn. Sorin at 1. Bang ya down to 19. About it. Have not done an MH3 limited stream yet. Collab with Saffron Olive? That's a great idea. No soul spikes on Arita. If we were in modern, we'd have to be worried about it. But in timeless, no soul spike today. Also, did you see the price on soul spike? Oh, okay. It's kind of wild. I don't know if you remember, but like a year ago, we were playing Budget Blackburn. It was like this super memey budget deck with Soul Spike, one of the key cards, because Soul Spike was super cheap. Soul Spike is currently $67 a copy. $70 for Soul Spike of all things. Oh, wait. Oh, we can't even get a land. That's awkward. All right, sure. Well, we untap. We take some damage. We draw Myco Spawn. We One Ring. Unholy Heat's pretty good. So we can Unholy Heat. Kill the Troll. Go to combat. Kill the Sorin. Take up the Karn. And then Myco Spawn with Kicker. Get rid of your swamp. Grab a Beseiju. And let's channel Cammy, get a forest. Or 2. Play a forest, play a Blood Moon. Oh, wait, that doesn't work that way. Just kidding. I guess we just play a Cammy. Play a Cammy, pass the turn. Put the forest into play that way. All right, I think we're doing it. Not a flawless victory, but a pretty dominant victory. Jeshosh, welcome to the Fishbowl. Thank you so much for your subscription. Big super chat for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank ya. How good would Tarmogoyf be in Foundations? Honestly, when we were talking about vanilla creatures in Standard, and I know that Goyf is not technically a vanilla creature. That's the kind of vanilla creature that could see play. I think it is actually shocking that we have not actually got a Goyf back in Standard. I guess it just hasn't like fit the theme or the flavor. I love this deck too. The deck is not very good. It's like very medium in terms of how strong it is, but oh man, it is super fun when it's actually blowing up all your opponent's lands. Collab with Asian Avenger. That's a good idea. Why is no one talking about Necro in Modern? Also very good. Had 2 decks in the top 8. Haven't even seen it played by anyone. Yeah, Necro, I was going to play Necro today in Modern for the stream, actually. But Moto was down at the start of the stream, so I decided to play some Timeless instead. But we will definitely do some Necroing. Also, I've already played Necro multiple times because I love that card. You should go to Brian Kibler's house and get on Commander at home. Ah, that is a good idea. I just live on the wrong side of the country from everyone. I don't know why all the, like, loading ready run, Commander at home, game nights, Tolarian Community College, even Goldfish, technically, like Richard and Krim, like, everyone's living on the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast, and I just don't make it out there very much. But I think I'm gonna go out to Profs this fall. I think that's happening, so we'll see. But I think that's the plan. Yeah, I mean there are some East Coast people, but there used to be more East Coast people. Yeah, you got LSV and his group in Colorado. There used to be a pretty good scene in Roanoke, right? Where Star City Games was. It was very like Spike focused. It was more like spiky content, but there used to be like a lot of pros and like content people in that area. But that's kind of faded away a little bit. Where is Jim? Where does Jim live? I think he is on the East Coast. Oh, is he in New Jersey? Yeah. Wow, double grief, getting scammed. Well, this hand is very expensive. Mountain, go. Yeah, talking with Jim about Timeless could be fun. More like podcasty stuff could definitely be cool. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of doing more like commentary kind of stuff. I really like the Nadu video from this weekend. I like making that kind of content. I just don't do it that much. So more of that might be a possibility. Yeah, opponent's just playing Mono Black Scam, Mono Black Reanimator. The question's going to be, do we draw anything before we die to this grief? Oh, don't it? Oh, if they can reanimate this, we're in real trouble. Cycles the Troll, gets a Swamp. Come on, no reanimate. No reanimate, Bonnet. Gets and hits us. Down to 11. Oh, persist, okay. That is, wow. Man, scamming's so brutal. We had a hand that did things, but we didn't get to cast any of it because we got triple thought seized. How are we supposed to do anything about triple thought seize? Aereo! Oh, so Tarmogoyf, very safe for standard. That's the kind of like not truly vanilla, but sort of vanilla creature that I think that could actually make an impact on standard. Well, the One Ring means we don't die this turn. I don't know how this keeps us from dying next turn. I guess we're gonna need to. Oh, we're gonna need some good running here. We're gonna need some good running. Pona land. Well, here we go. One Ring, draw a card. Abriel Grazer, take one. Draw Wooded Foothills. One Ring. Yeah. We almost recovered. If we hadn't gotten triple thought seized, I think we would have been fine. But, yeah, I mean, it exists. Would Tarmogoyf be too good in Pioneer? I don't think so. I don't think Tarmogoyf's really, like, too good, period, anymore. Assassin's Creed Sealed League? How in the world are they doing Assassin's Creed Sealed? That set's so small. I mean, that would be kind of funny just to try. Actually, I don't know if you remember, they used to do triple small set limited on Magic Online. So back with like Dragon's Maze, and when they used to make small sets still, when we had blocks, they would actually put up a draft format for them, and it was actually super fun. I actually enjoyed them. They were super wonky, but it would always be, you would lead to some really interesting situations because there were so few cards. So you could realistically, like, I remember, I don't know why I remember Dragon's Maze more than the rest of these formats, but there was like a deck in the Dragon Maze draft. I wonder if I can find it. Ceruli Gatekeepers, where you would, since the set was so small and you were guaranteed to get a guild gate in every pack, which this is roughly, I think, the same size, 156. So Assassin's Creed's even smaller, just over 100. But you could realistically just like grab a bunch of gates and grab all these gatekeeper cards, and you'd have like 7 Cerulean gatekeepers in your deck because you got so many of them because they were just coming around in every pack. And that would be your entire archetype, something that would never work in a normal draft format because you just wouldn't see the same cards so much. So you just like take all the gatekeepers and gain all the life and win the game somehow. So I actually have had fun playing super small limited formats in the past. Like, I think it's actually it gets old fast. It's kind of like Momir, where in small doses it can be really fun because it's kind of novel and it's different than other formats, but then it gets old after you do it a few times. But I would try an Assassin's Creed draft. What do you think of the Dustmourn cards? There's a couple in specific I need to ask you about. We didn't really talk about the cards, but there's a couple I gotta know how good you think they are. So card number 1 is Overlord of the Hauntwoods. So Overlord of the Hauntwoods, I feel like this card's kind of very strong. So it's a 5 mana 6/5 enchantment creature avatar horror. When an ETBs attacks, you create a tap colorless land named Everywhere that is every basic land type, and then it has a impending of 4. And if you cast a spell for its impending cost, it's basically suspend on the battlefield. You cast it as a non-creature, so it just be an enchantment with 4 counters on it. You remove the counters one at a time on your upkeep. When they're gone, it becomes a creature. So essentially, it's a 3 mana ramp spell that makes a land that is every land type, or it's a 5 mana ramp spell that's a fairly big creature that can attack every turn. Isn't this card kind of ridiculous? What do you think of the land tokens? I firmly believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but here's what I believe. I believe that if Wizards was making Magic today and not making it 30 years ago, if they were just starting now, knowing what they know now, I don't think there would be rampant growth in Magic. I don't think you'd have a rampant growth that's, 2 mana, grab a basic risk out of your deck, shuffle, do all that stuff. I think that rampant growth would be like, make a basic land token of the type of your choice. I think that's how all those spells would work. I don't think we'd have real ramp. I think Cultivate would be, something, I don't know how you'd put it in your hand. I guess Cultivate would be a hard one to make work. But I think that's how ramp would be formatted. I think it gets around the shuffling, which is one of the downsides of a lot of ramp spells, is it's shuffling for no reason. You got people like Tomer that got, tiny hands that can't actually shuffle their deck properly. So I feel like if Wizards knew what they knew today, this would be, maybe there would still be some rampant growths or whatever. Maybe like you couldn't make Cultivate exist. So maybe some cards would still slip through. But I honestly think that the default would be make a land token of a certain type, certain kind, rather than shuffle, searching out your library or whatever. It still triggers landfall, right? Like the land still is entering the battlefield. So there's no deck. It does ruin the deck thinning truthers. Typical timeless mono black scam shenanigans. Hopefully Wizards gets rid of Grief for getting modern and puts it as at least a thing to 1 for timeless. Yeah, Grief is. There's so many things that are kind of busted at the moment that I think Grief, like, it certainly deserves the scrutiny and it's like not a good play pattern. But I feel like Nadu is like above it, and then the One Ring is probably also above it. The other card I'm curious about, actually 2. So one is the Wandering Rescuer. This card's just busted, right? 5 mana 3/4, Flash Convoke, double strike. Other tab creatures you control have hexproof. In a deck that can play a bunch of creatures, isn't this card kind of like very above the curve? I guess the downside if you get Wrathed or whatever, it's going to be kind of expensive. But imagine just like 1-drop into, like, imagine the Boros Convoke deck where you can just flood the board with so many creatures. This is going to be like a free or very cheap 3/4 double striker that also can be played at instant speed and can also fizzle a removal spell by convoking out, so the creature will be tapped, so it'll fizzle the removal spell. So I think that card is just like really, really strong. I feel like, yeah, we were just about to get rid of having the Wandering Emperor be one of the best cards in Standard, but now it's back because the Wandering Rescuer couldn't get away from it. The last card I really wanted to ask about is Comeback Rog. In Comeback Rog, I keep going back and forth on whether this card is like really, really good or unplayable. So Comeback Rog, 3 mana, 2 and a black sorcery, blow up a creature, destroy a creature. If a creature would go into graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control, sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. So it's kind of like, it's a murder. So 3 mana, blow up a creature, except if you murder something with it, it comes back into play under your control, but it doesn't have haste or anything, and it goes away on the end step, so you can't attack with it. So essentially, it's a bad removal spell, because murder is not really playable, especially a sorcery speed removal. So it's like a below the curve removal spell, but if you, how are you going to block with it though? Because you've got to cast it at sorcery speed. So you cast it at sorcery speed, it comes back into play, the goes to your end step as sacrifices. So I don't think you can really block with it. All you really, I guess if you gave it flash somehow you could, but all you really get out of it is like, you get ETB triggers, right? So if you blow up a Muldrifter, it comes into play, you draw 2 cards. If you blow anything that has an ETB trigger, some sort of value-y thing like that, I've really been going back and forth is whether this is like absurd and it's like so good, or if it's unplayable. And I really like, I haven't been able to figure it out yet. It probably depends on the meta, I guess. It probably depends on the meta. If you have other ways of like getting around its shenanigans. Blinking it's like kind of cool, right? Sacking it for value is kind of cool. You are paying a tax because 2 mana is kind of the going rate to kill something, but there's going to be blowouts from it. It's almost like another, it's like an invert polarity. I think I figured it out. It's like an invert polarity. It's like, it's a cancel. It's an overcosted removal spell. It's a murder, except sometimes it's probably going to win you the game. When you hit something that has a powerful ETB trigger and you just like, then it's a murder that's like 10 times as powerful as a normal murder. So maybe that's what it is. I feel like we're getting more and more high variance cards in Magic. I feel like Wizards is adding more variance to the cards itself, which I think is just like objectively true. Yeah, kind of like a truce appropriation. I think it's objectively true because we actually have mechanics like dice rolling and so forth that Wizards wouldn't even like let in the game before outside of Silver Border. So I think we're getting more variance. I don't know if it's a bad thing. Hopefully it's actually a fun thing. You just got to get the level of it right, I think. Oh yeah, hitting an Atraxa or an Atali with it is the dream. Like if you can blow up an Atraxa or a Atali, that card is kind of ridiculous. Pitch for content. Tour the country, beating a local player in every state, in the country, finishing in California and face Crib. Wow, that would be a long video series, but that would actually be, I've actually wondered if you could do like, I don't know, just like go around the country and go to different LGSs and just like, I don't even know what the content would be. I think it'd be cool to just see how Magic is played in all these places. If we just go around and see like what the community is like, what's going on in like a random LGS in Oklahoma or Florida or Texas or Washington or, you know, all these places. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know who would watch the content, but is Arena on PC? It is on PC and also mobile. You can play it on mobile as well. You can get it through Steam. You can also download it directly through WotC's site. Well, Guide us Souls. Get the energy going. We're actually kind of close to flipping Sorin next turn. Yeah, I was in Oklahoma once. I was driving from Colorado to New York, and my car broke down in Oklahoma. Whew. Big mistake. No offense to Oklahomans, and I can't say much because I live in upstate New York, and there's not like there's anything going on here. But yeah, it did not seem like a whole lot was going on. There. And the other user had the right idea. It's basically DDD, but for Magic. It's like community for sure. Let us know about local metas, weird rules that people play. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think it would be neat. Let's Sorin of House Markov. Oh, that's, you know what we got to do? Speaking of content, no one's doing this. You know how they always do those horrible reality shows, like the next top model or whatever? We need to do like the next jank brewer or something. We need some sort of, I don't even know how you would do it, because I just thought of this, but that would be actually super sweet if you could get like 10 aspiring brewers and give them challenges, and they have to like build an against the odds deck that I tell them to build, and then you critique it and vote someone out who who didn't do well enough. That would actually be kind of interesting. Now I kind of want to make the next great brewer, next jank brewer. Oh, here's another question I had for you. So I had an idea. We were kind of debating this internally. So we're thinking about doing a podcast, or I had the idea of doing a podcast that was something like we roast your decks or something like that. With the idea being that we would ask for deck submissions and be like, hey, we're gonna do this podcast where we're kind of gonna go over your decks and kind of tear them apart and roast them or whatever. Do you think is that offensive in any way? Like, obviously, would never do it without people knowing that's what the decks were for. Like, you wouldn't just take a deck that someone randomly sends us and be like, haha, we're gonna roast this deck. But do you think that would be, if people knew going into it that's like, if you're submitting the deck, that's what they're being submitted for. Like, they're submitted for this podcast about roasting your decks. That's not offensive, right? That was kind of my take. Like, if people know going into it and they voluntarily submit their decks, I think it's okay, because if they don't want to have their deck roasted, then just don't submit a deck, and it's like perfectly fine. Well, I mean, it can't be that brutal. Can't be that brutal. We're all pretty chill. I think it would be more like, hopefully, educational. I would imagine it being like, why are you playing 32 lands or things like that? Not like, whatever. How would you even offensively roast someone's deck? Yeah, I don't know if I'll end up doing it or not, but about it. Merfolk Tunnel. What does this card even do? Where did this? Oh, this is it's alchemy. When it ETBs, you get a 3-time boon with whenever one or more Merfolk enter the battlefield under your control, target Merfolk you control explode. Man, speaking of ridiculous text, you get a 3-time boon? What is it with wizards and these weird numbers? So when this ETBs, they get this temporary ability that for 3 times. It seems like you could make this work in paper, couldn't you? I think you can make this work in paper. How do we avoid death? So we can play a Bowmasters. The Sorin's harder to flip than I thought. So we can play Bowmasters. Extort. Ping down the Mistcloak Herald. Get some energy, get some energy. Get some energy, get some energy. Go to combat. Attack, 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 attack. Well, here we come. Sorin to the air. Guide of Souls to the air. Hit ya. I mean, Guide of Souls is kind of ridiculous. Kind of a ridiculous card. There's a popular theme of tech tubers roasting people's PC rigs. Some people submit their PCs knowing it'll get slammed. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about just like consent, right? Basically, like, as long as. Oh wait, how much life did we gain? 8? Oh my God! Wait, is Sorin busted? How do we gain 8 life? Wait.
Lead for me.
Huh? I didn't think we had that much damage, but we actually, Sorin just like straight up won that game out of nowhere. Wait, is Sorin actually busted and no one has realized it yet? It felt pretty busted right there. Yeah, that deals a lot of damage. That deals a lot, because we didn't do anything. We're not like, we just had a couple Guide of Souls. And we extorted once. It's not like we're built around some life gain combo or gain like 20 life or anything absurd. That was just like kind of played a game of Magic. And next thing you know, Sorin hit for 3 in the air and then 8 more directly to the face. They said on the panel that Sorin, they made Sorin for Soul Sisters. I was hoping. Oh, do we want to change anything? So opponent's playing Merfolk. We don't really have a Wrath. I guess the Solitude. The Solitude's good. I don't even know if the Grief's that good in this matchup. I think I'd rather just have more removal. So it's probably insane to cut Griefs, because Grief is just, scamming is just so inherently strong. But let's try it like that. I think Grist is good too. Maybe not as underrated as other ones, but I think it is good. When is Moist Critical coming on the podcast, Commander Clash? I'll have to send him a text. Actually, I think that it would be much easier to do if we were recording like in the same place. I think that's the challenge with some of the guest stuff. The podcast, that would be easier. But like Commander Clash, one of the challenges is like everyone having a setup that's like functional enough at their house and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of the challenges with having guests on Commander Clash. Yeah, we'll have to try just straight up Soul Sisters with Sorid. We were playing Ponza earlier. I love Ponza. Ponza's one of my all-time favorite archetypes. How has Ponza been in Modern recently? I haven't played it. Well, we played that mono green deck, which was kind of Ponza-ish. The mono green land destruction deck. Did you see how bad Storm did? We were talking about how Nadu was like one of the best performing Pro Tour decks of all time. Pretty sure Storm was one of the worst performing Modern Pro Tour decks. No, you're really stifling? Okay. Whew. I was worried there for a minute. Raccoon Theater. 4. Well, I mean, against Merfolk, we're keeping swords. We will just try to kill all your stuff. Arid Mesa, go. But Storm won like 35% of the time, which is kind of hilarious. Moonint. Voldarin Hexcatcher. Sure. Well, we will Fatal Push it. I don't think Merfolk's going to beat this hand. I don't think they're going to beat it. Hexcatcher down. Was Ruby Storm really that bad? It was really that bad. I mean, so it's kind of what we had talked about before, and it was kind of why I was skeptical of how good it would be overall. But basically, people started hating on it, and that's what kind of killed it. If you look at like Drannith Magistrate, one of the best cards that exists against that deck, because all their stuff's being cast from exile. Yeah, would you like to flare your Sevulin to stop the swords on Sevulin? No. Speaking of flops, what about the flares? We didn't like see any flares. I will say I think they're probably going to be better in the meta at large than they were at the Pro Tour, because the Pro Tour, it seems like a lot of people were just like, I am not going to lose to Storm. and they played like 6 sideboard cards, 8 sideboard cards that were really going to get ooh, okay. Well, I mean, we have the Solitude. The Solitude can get us out from under this. We also can make treasures. Definitely did not fetch in a way to play around a Blood Moon effect, though. We'll discard the Thoughtseize. Yeah, discard the Thoughtseize. Ephemerate. Well, play the land. Go to combat. Do some attacking. Oh, they probably have Flare. I think they have Flare. Oh, so if we go to Solitude, they can sack the Shoreline Scout to Flare. We're actually gonna pass. We're gonna pass. We'll survive under the Blood Moon for a turn. I think we're gonna try to Bowmaster. Well, okay. Bowmaster now. Get rid of the Shoreline Scout. We do need to get rid of this Harbinger, though. I've done a lot of stuff with Vince in the past. We've done a lot of stuff. He was on Commander Clash. I've done a bunch of stuff on his channel. Yeah, I'll have to do another video with Vince at some point. About it. Harbinger of the Seas. Gonna get in with Island Walk. Yup. Oh, how do we get rid of this Harbinger? Well, flip the Saga. Go to combat. Attack, attack. Attack, attack. Make a treasure. Flood Moon. Do you think they'll print more Blood Moons? More Flood Moons? Like, do you think there's any chance? I was surprised they printed Harbinger of the Seas, honestly. Do you think we'll ever get to the point? I mean, I guess in Magic, given the game lasting long enough, we'll probably get everything as eventually, right? Even the stuff they say we probably won't get. Like, they say we're not going to print Urborgs in more colors because it can do dangerous things. But give it, like, another 20 years, 30 years, and I bet every color ends up with an Urborg eventually. Or, like, same with the, like, Magus of the Moons. Maybe right now it seems like, okay, we probably won't print more of those. But when you got to keep making exciting and playable cards for the next 50 years, you might have to loosen up the restrictions a little bit about it. So here's another question for you, chat. We're talking a little bit about paper Magic. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a tournament. I've just never managed to figure it out. Let's see if we can bait out this counter with an Ephemerate on a Reflections. Come on. I know that's a Flare. That's a Flare of Denial. I will bet you $10 it's a Flare of Denial. I know it is. Okay, there. Yeah. It was the Flare of Denial. That's all fine, because now we can Solitude. We can Solitude to get rid of the Harbinger, and without the Harbinger, our life becomes so much better. So get rid of the Harbinger. Get in with the Goblin. Now we should be good. Now that there's no silly Harbinger ruining our day, can we get a basic with this? Do we have a Swamp in this deck? We do. All right, get a Swamp. Fable the Mirror Breaker Part 2. Go. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Check, check. Am I back? Hello. Hey, there we go. I still haven't been able to figure that out. I don't know why it does that every once in a while. It is driving me up the wall. So what would you like to see what would you like to see with paper content? Let's say it was possible to do more paper content. Oh no, that wasn't a pop-up on the stream. That's just an audio. Project Lasso, it's an audio program that I use for content stuff. So what would you like to see paper content wise? Let's say it's like me and Phil, or me and Krim, or me and Richard. Is there anything in specific you think would be really fun to see? Think of like Commander Clash. Something similar to that setup. What's some stuff that would be fun that wasn't Commander focused though? You want to see just classic matchups of here's some, famous decks from the past. Do you want to see more goofier card market style stuff with far out stuff that even isn't necessarily the real Magic rules, but Magic versus Hearthstone? How would that play out? I'm very curious. Ooh, Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker's a cool one. Although, Oathbreaker, I played one game of Oathbreaker. Krim killed it for me. I was super hyped for this Oathbreaker format that everyone's talking about. We'll have to try it out. Here comes Krim playing Teferian Silence. Nope. Nope, killed it. Dandan is a really fun one. The only problem with Dandan is that's one we'll have to record where we are actually in the same physical location with each other. That one we wouldn't be able to record over the interwebs, I don't think, because you need to play off the same deck. So I don't think it'd be possible to do that over a computer. Play with AI generated cards. I've seen that's a lot of bolts. I've seen Card Market do that. It was actually really hilarious. Hey, what's up, Tessinger? How are you? Yeah, I think we'd have to do Dandan at a Magic Con, when we go to Vegas or something. Now let's pass the turn. So opponent appears to be Jeskai control. I just spent $400 updating my modern control deck with Flages and energy shenanigans. Hope it's worth it and control doesn't die out. I mean, control's been hot lately. It's been hot. It did reasonably at the Pro Tour. I wouldn't say it was like... I think it did fine. I think it did fine at the Pro Tour. Do we want to play the Sorin? They can't bolt the Sorin. How much do we care about the swords? It is a black card. We could pitch it to Grief. Yeah, I think we actually... If we get the swords out of their hand, then we can potentially use this Flage. Because Flage doesn't really care about Lightning Bolt. So I think if they have to swords here, we're kind of happy with that. Oh, Judge's Tower could actually be interesting, too. I really like watching power matchups in the past. Cedric and Patrick do that on their Receivables YouTube. Do they actually... So I know the Receivables podcast. I don't think I've seen the YouTube recently. Do they actually play play games with the decks? Or is it just a podcast talking about the decks?
Day, brother.
If it's games too, I'll have to look it up because I haven't seen that. I think it's, I mean, I like the history of Magic. I don't know, like, how broad of an appeal it has to people. Like, if you're someone who just started playing Magic in the Arena era or whatever, do you care about what decks were great in the, you know, the 90s or something before you were born? I don't know. But I think the history, I find it very interesting, the history of the game. Is there Pauper on Arena? The answer is sort of. So there is occasionally Pauper. There's no, like, evergreen Pauper queue where you can just play it all the time. But there are Pauper events. Oh, man. We've drawn a lot of more Flages than lands at the moment. Speaking of Flage. Found it, Flages. Actually, I guess we probably want to wait for them to put it back into play. Sure. Flage away. My God, we cannot draw land. Guide us all. How can we not draw land here? How is that even possible? Braidstorm. You guys should buy a box of cards from Goodwill and make decks out of whatever's in the box. That would actually be kind of fun. I wanted to do a Commander Clash. I think we still might do it. I just haven't actually worked out the details of it yet. Surveil Land, eh? I want to do a Commander Clash that was like a crossover with the collection buying YouTube, with the collection buying channel, where it'd be like buying a collection that had Commander decks in it, and then just sending one to each of the Commander Clash players and having everyone just play the deck without even going through it and seeing what was in it. I think it would make it more fun if they like had no idea what the deck was actually doing. Have I bought stuff from Hideaway from the store yet? I have not. I object to the hideawaying. I object. Opponent has a mana drain. Gets a mana, wastes a mana. Well. Oh, so awkward. Flage. You. Play a Godless Shrine. Opponent. Island gets in with Flage. Down to 7. Well, Flage. See if they have a counter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh! Yeah, we just missed too many land drops that game. Too many land drops. How about one of the, I bought someone's collection, then you guys build decks. That could be cool too. Like buying a collection and then you have to build decks only out of the cards in that collection. That could also be a cool way of doing it. I think we definitely want Grief this matchup. Johnny, I mean, our deck seems just fine as it is. I think the problem there is we just didn't draw lands for way too long. I mean, we're just dead that one, right? Like, that game, once they mana drain, they just attack with... Flage hits for so much damage. Like, if you can't block it, it hits for 9 a turn, which is kind of absurd, actually. There's a reason it is, I think, the current most expensive card in the set. Well, I guess a bunch of Thought Seizes are probably reasonable against control. Thought Seize you. Mana Drain, Brainstorm, Flage, One Ring. That is a pretty good hand. Huh. So I guess we gotta take the Brainstorm. Pass the turn. Opponent plays the land passes. Well, play the Raccoon Theater. Get rid of the grief. Thought Seize. Can we beat a One Ring? Can we beat a One Ring? So I guess we can take the Mana Drain. And then hopefully we can grief the One Ring before that happens. We can't really let them resolve the One Ring. Is Flage better than Fury was? I think it's much healthier. I think it's much healthier than Fury was. It's very strong. It is a really good card. And I think a lot of its popularity is the fact that you can play it in a lot of different decks. Like, it's played in control, it's played in mid-range, you can even play it in aggro. So it fits in a lot of different places. I think that's the biggest upside of the card. Well, let's Arid Mesa, crack Arid Mesa. Grab a Plains. So if we play a Johnny. Yeah, I guess that's fine. We'll play a Johnny. They're probably going to Flage it, but get the Johnny down. Get the cat.
Fight beside me, brother.
Oh, all right. Or they drew a Swords. So they will Swords it. We will pass. We'd like to just draw a land here so we can just hard cast the Grief. That would make this much better. We really don't want to have to pitch the Bowmasters, but come on, land. Untap land. Untap. Oh, all right. I guess we got to risk it. Come on, no land, no land, no land. Well, there's the land. Well, so at least we have the Bowmasters, although this is still not a great answer. Oh, opponent, protection, and passes. There's the land. Oh, yeah, we're running so awkwardly this game. Pass the turn. Everything's just been a little bit off. Game 1, we couldn't hit the lands. This game, we hit the land a turn too late for the Grief. Kirkland's signature. Welcome to the Fish Bowl. Thank you so much for your subscription. Big super cheer for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think this game's over. I don't think we can beat the One Ring here. The One Ring is just, it's such a... The One Ring should be banned, right? I'm pretty sure it just should be banned. Hey Seth, it appears you have access to all the Assassin's Creed cards on your Daybreak account for brewing. Spike is currently playing with the cards in New Brews. Ooh. What cards is Spike playing with? The Assassin's Creed set seems very, very low powered to me. I'm curious. Maybe there'll be some stuff we can mess around with. I'm curious what is playable from it. Well, let's run out of Grief, I guess. I mean, our opponent's also at 28 and they have a Flage. I almost don't even know if there's a point in continuing. Like, it seems weird to scoop. It seems weird to scoop at this stage in the game. But the One Ring is just, if you can't check it, it is just an unbeatable amount of card advantage. Well, get in, you. Oh, Pixies and Modest Mouse. Yeah, I've never seen Pixies. Pixies is on my list of bands that I need to catch in the near future because they might not tour for much longer. I saw who did I see Friday? Oh, I went out and saw Trampled by Turtles, Trampled by Turtles was good. In Shaky Graves. Shaky Graves, honestly, really blew me away. I was very... Yeah, we're going to go to the next game. I was incredibly impressed with the show that Shaky Graves put on. Like... Yeah, Pixies is one of my favorites, too. But Shaky Graves is someone that I never really listened to. The people I went with were really into him. I was going mostly to see Trampled by Turtles, who I like. But, Shaky Graves, I was so impressed. Just really good performer, like all around, really, really, really good. My friend introduced me to baby metal. Such a weird. I remember the first time, yeah. I was like, wait, no, what? Seriously? No, they're singing metal? And it's about candy? That's a real thing. Yeah, the first time hearing baby metal is just so far out. Would you ever have the pleasure? Yeah, I've had the hair down on stream a few times. There's been some Saffron Golden Mane streams. So far, I've only seen Spike playing. Oh God, Yogsel. I don't even. Not a real word. Not a real word. You Vikings and your Y's and G's together with your D's. Rebirth Engine. Wait, so what does this card actually do? Does it actually have a place in Tron? 3 mana when it enters the battlefield. Exile all creature cards from your graveyard. Tap it. Exile 3 cards from your library. Pay 4. Tap it. Put a creature card exiled with you into the battlefield under your control. Gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So I imagine like some sort of Eldrazi Tron thing, trying to like cheat an Eldrazi into play with it. Kind of weird that they didn't manage to put the cards on Arena, only on Moto. I'm kind of surprised. Oh yeah, Amazonian's awesome. Well, let's grief scam here. Pitch the Bowmasters. Do a little griefing. Opponent's going to brainstorm. Hide away their goodies. Yggdrasil? See, at least I'm not the only one. I'm seeing multiple ways to say it, so at least I'm not the only one who can't speak Viking, apparently. Oh, is this another control deck? Why is everyone playing control? So we will take Lorien Revealed. Actually, let's take the March. We'll take the March. And then we'll Ephemerate the Grief. And we'll take the Wrath of the Skies. And pass the turn. All right, how about a land? How about a land to play something? Yggdrasil. Pixies play 33 songs live. No talking to the crowd as soon as they start. As soon as they end one, they start the next one. Is that really how they're? I've never watched a Pixies live show. Is that actually how their live shows go? So if you saw the Pixies, what era of songs did they play? Like, so they've been around forever, right? Do they mostly play like the Pixies equivalent of like their greatest hits? Or so I know I went like a couple years ago. It's all Bright Eyes, and Bright Eyes was a band I used to really like, but the best era of Bright Eyes music was like, I don't know, 2005 or something, like, and went to the show, and he just refused to play any of the songs from any of the good albums from early in his career, and played all recent stuff that no one cared about. It was very actually like, oh, I'm not even like especially enjoying this. So it's got to be tough. Like I have empathy for those bands, because it's got to be very tough to like play the same thing again and again and again every night for 30 years, especially since I don't know if you've ever written a song, or like what would another similar, even like you ever write like in your journal when you were 18 or something, or like a diary entry, but if you ever like wrote something when you were like 20 years old or 18 years old, and then you're like 50 years old, 60 years old, you're not going to think the same way. Even like you probably look at stuff that you wrote when you were a teenager and now you're 25 or 30, And you're like, it's so ridiculous. I can't imagine being like a musician who wrote something really popular when they were like 18 and now they're like 60 and they're just not the same person. And they like, probably you're thinking, man, I was such an idiot when I was 18. Like, my God, I can't believe I even wrote this. But you gotta play it because that's the song that everyone knows and loves by you. And you're stuck with it forever. Yeah, the set I saw, I think it was 2 years ago, but I actually just came away from it feeling, I felt bad for Connor. He just seemed like he was in rough shape and like, I like not doing well. Maybe he's hopefully doing better. And apparently there's a new Bright Eyes album coming out, so hopefully that means he's doing better now. But I imagine it just seemed like he didn't look that well physically or act that well, so it made me actually just kind of worried. But yeah, I think that's like, it's got to be tough, right? If what you're most known for is something you did when you were 16. And you got to be that person forever. Well, we're going to take a Sacred Foundry, untapped. We're going to combat. We're going to hit you. For 5. And then we will flage you for 3. I went to the December show like a month ago. Someone booed them when they played their new music. See, I would never do that. Like, I feel bad. Like, I feel like I understand why you would go to a show and want to play all your new stuff, even if that's not what the fans want. So I totally understand why they would do it, but I don't want to bring everyone down, but did everyone hear about Kai? Yeah. So if you didn't hear about Kai during the Pro Tour, Kai, literally the greatest Magic player in the history of Magic, the GOAT of Magic, won 7 Pro Tours. I believe the next highest number is 3 for actual Pro Tour wins. But Kai, they announced during the Pro Tour, has apparently stage 4 cancer and is doing treatments and so forth. But from what he said, he did an interview during the Pro Tour as well, and said that it's basically a terminal diagnosis at this point. So they did announce. I mean, this doesn't take away the badness of it by any stretch, but they did announce they're naming the Pro Tour Player of the Year after Kai. So it's gonna be the Kai Player of the Year trophy or whatever, which is really, that's a nice honor. But yeah, it's definitely super sad. It's cancer. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Like the run that Kai had from like 2000 to 2002, something like that era was absolutely mind-blowing. And it was a different era and all that stuff, but just like he would always, if he made the top 8, he would win. And he just did that again and again and again for tournament after tournament, which is really impressive. Yeah, Kai's not that old by any stretch. Like I actually don't know exactly how old Kai is, but I imagine he's in his 40s, somewhere in that range. Yeah, I would be totally down with a special invite. I know the other funny thing is, so he played in the Pro Tour. Didn't do that well in the Pro Tour. So he played in a PTQ on Sunday. They always do these PTQs. Oops. Had to crack that fetch. But they have these PTQs on Sundays at the Pro Tours, and he won the Sunday PTQ. So he did get the PT invite for the next one at least, which is sweet. What are your thoughts on Bolt being a card in Foundations? So I think that I want to see. I think I want to see it. So if they're going to have Lana or Elves, iconic green creature, Day of Judgment, which I guess is like, I guess they can't print Wrath of God itself because of the regeneration clause, but it's about as close as you can get. I think I want to see Bolt as like the iconic red card. Would Bolt even be... So here's the downside. The downside is Magic has gotten so big that we have to consider more than just like best of 3. We have best of 1. If anything, my concern would be like best of 1 standard. Do we really want Lightning Bolt in best of 1 standard for the next 5 years? Best of 1 already tends to be mono red heaven, where it's just like so many mono red decks. Maybe they would just be too good if they had Lightning Bolt. But I think for like best of 3, I think it would be okay. Like, I don't know. Do you think that Bolt would be that overpowered? Oh, Mana, I would love to see Mana Tithe. They should reprint Mana Tithe more often. What about, like, what else would you like to see in the set? I really want to see more iconic, like, older cards, which I think is going to be part of it. Bold is too much. So what could you give red? Oh, Daze is so brutal. If anything, Dazed, I think, should be banned out of, banned out of Legacy, not added to Standard. Yeah, I think that best of 3 would be okay with Lightning Bolt, because you can sideboard around it, you can play life gain. But in a world where best of 1 is a heavily played format, I think that might be the reason why. Ooh. Do we keep the 1-land scam hand? I think we do. Scamming is just so powerful. Hopefully we draw more lands, but so what would be a good red card? What would be a good iconic red card that they could print in place of Lightning Bolt? If Lightning Bolt's too good in an era with best of 1, what would be a really iconic red card that they could reprint in Foundations? Now let's take Galvanic Discharge. And then Ephemerate the Grief. We're doing the thing. Hooray. You don't get to have any cards in hand. Good, clean, fair Magic. Take the swords. Pass the turn. Mono Green Stabby, welcome to the Fishbowl. Ooh, Grim Lavamancer. Grim Lavamancer is actually, that's a good one. Blaze, I don't know. Blaze is like old school iconic. I don't know if Blaze is Blaze enough anymore? I feel like Blaze might be too boomery. Welcome to the Fishbowl. Thank you so much for your subscription. Big super review. Thank you. And we'll take the flame. We drew a land. That's actually kind of key here. Raccoon Theater. Mill the Fable, the Mirror Breaker. Pass the turn. Ragavan. No. Worldfire. Okay, Worldfire's actually, that's a pretty good one. Oh, what about Earthquake? Is Earthquake too OP? Well, let's get in there with the Grief. Hit ya. Oh, are they gonna Snapcast a removal spell on the Grief? They are. Okay. Sure. Opponent, Snapcaster. Well, at least they're not getting back the Flame of Venor. Gonna Galvanic Discharge. Foundations is going to be draftable. Wizards confirm that it's a draftable set. Is Earthquake actually too OP for Standard? Would Kiki-Jiki break Standard? Ooh, probably too close to feel comfortable with it. Like, the problem with Kiki-Jiki is it only does one thing. And that thing is combo off. There's not really any, like, fair uses to it. So I think I would be surprised if they put that in Standard for 5 years. I think they want to avoid... I think you definitely need to avoid combo pieces. I think that would be like the biggest, most #1 thing. Because if you print a combo piece like Kiki-Jiki in a set that the idea is it's never going to rotate, that just seems like the recipe for disaster, right? Like, could you imagine if Kiki-Jiki ended up being too good and it just never was going to rotate from Standard? I feel like that would be a big problem. So I think we actually wait on Flage. I think we play Sorin of House Markov. Eidolon might be a good one. What about ooh. I think we can extort. Do we need to leave up the swords? We're against control. It's probably fine. Alright, opponent's gonna Galvanic Discharge the Sorin anyway. Yeah, I can't imagine we need to swords this turn. Yeah, I think we just... Wow, just runs out the Snapcaster. All right, well, opponent has successfully gotten themselves empty-handed in response to our Thoughtseize. Well, we'll drain you. Not a 19. Pass the turn. So for blue, cancel is too under... I mean, I imagine cancel will be in the set. But that's not really a playable card. I feel like... Opponent's going to get back the swords. Well, we're going to flage. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What would a good blue card be? Ooh, rewind. Rewind might actually be about the right power level. Stone, I wish they would Stone Rain. Oh, this audio thing. I talked about Stone Rain before. I don't think that Stone Rain would work. I don't think that Wizards would allow Stone Rain into standard. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. I don't think they would. I don't think they'd allow it. As much as I would like it, I think it's just too brutal for arena players. Like, if you're not used to playing against that stuff. Pyroclasm is about that. I think that's a fair power level, right? Serum Vision's definitely a fair power level. Or maybe like consider. Maybe I guess Serum Visions might be more iconic, especially if you use the F&M promo art. we need more memes. We need more meme cards in Foundations. Never rotating memes. We need some Storm Crows and some Seaman Visions and some more memes. Price of Progress would actually be very, very interesting. Is Price of Progress too good for standard? I feel like Price of Progress is too good. Like, the amount of damage it deals for 2 mana is probably too strong, but I feel like it punishes the right thing. Like, which is... too many non-basic lands, which is I'm the kind of player who dies to Price of Progress, but I think it's perfectly fair that you get punished for playing a greedy mana base, especially when that punishment is like you lose the game. Tooth and Nail. I mean, Tooth and Nail, I think, if anything, is underpowered at this point. We've gotten so many variants that have been added to standard over the years. And they have all been fine and not broken. So I feel like, if anything, I mean, we have Smuggler's Surprise in standard now, which I think is just better than Tooth and Nail. Like, it does most of what Tooth and Nail does, but it just does it cheaper and more flexibly. Hardened Scales could be a good one. Quick Study replaces Divination. Yeah, I think Divination's about done. Instant Speed is the baseline now for that effect. It's interesting to see the wheels of power creep. The wheels of power creep churning. How does it end? Like, so I was thinking about this the other day. So I was thinking, like, how does it ever end? But maybe it doesn't. Can we just power creep forever? It's kind of like inflation in the real world, right? Like, I was thinking about it with inflation too. Like, prices keep going up and up. Things keep getting more expensive. Eventually, that'll mean one of my dollars is worth, like, you know, a cent, right? Eventually, what I would buy for $1 today will cost me $100 or something because of how inflation works. Is that just what happens with Magic too? Like, we just keep power creeping, and 100 years from now, when, you know, it costs $100 to buy a stick of gum or whatever, our 1-drops will be like hundreds, but it'll all still kind of like balance out because everything is designed around that, and the cards from now will just be completely unusable because they weren't part of the power creep. But is that where we end up? Like, do we end up in a world where, like, we have 1 mana 4/4s, then 1 mana 5/5s, then 1 mana 6/6s? Or is there a place where the game just, like, does it fall apart? Is there a point where you power creep so much it just breaks and it's just over with? I guess you'd have to increase the life total too, right? Because the other thing is, you can't make the interaction better, can you? Like, so you can make your 1-drop a 1/1 or a 2/2 or a 3/3 or a 4/4 or a 5/5 or a 20/20, but how do you make your Fatal Push or your Swords to Plowshares less than 1 mana? Or I guess maybe 0 mana, like Solitude or something. What do you start, like, getting a mana discount? Like, a Solitude ETB generate a bunch of mana, a Swords to Plowshares, like, that costs negative mana. You actually ritual when you cast it. But I feel like you can exponentially increase the powers of creatures forever, really, because numbers just keep getting bigger. But I don't think you can do the same thing with answers, because you get to the floor where, like, your Wrath costs 0 mana, and you can't really make it less than that, right? And how do you make it more than Wrath? What do you destroy the next creatures that come into play? Like, I think it's kind of an interesting problem. Oh my God, I know I don't talk about politics, but did any of you watch the presidential debate last week? Oh my God, what a world we live in. How in the world? My criticism of it is just like, how can our system possibly, like, be successful if we end up with that being the literal 2 best options for us to vote for president? How is that possible that our system is functioning well if that system leads to that? It can't be the real world. Oh man, you really only have 2 options. Can't have other options. So sort of, like, in theory there are other people that run for president, but in practice our system is, like, very convoluted, and it's essentially set up to make it a binary choice between 2 people, essentially. Like, because you have all 50 states and there's all these different rules about how to get on the ballot, so it's very, very difficult to impossible to actually be a successful third-party candidate in the United States. So it pretty much comes down to the Democrat versus the Republican. Yeah, I kind of am jealous of some, and maybe I'm curious if you're European. I would love to hear your opinion on this, because from the outside, when I see, like, the system in Europe where you have, like, parliament and you have all these different parties and they have to, like, make a unity government and, like, people got to work together. I see that system and I'm like, wow, that seems so much better than how we do it. Like, it seems so much better than our, like, you either choose this guy or this guy, and they probably both suck, but you got to choose one of them. Like, it seems like such a more productive system. Is that how it's viewed as a European, with, like, the parliament and all that kind of stuff where there's tons of different parties? And, like, do you view it that as someone who's European, or is this like do I have an idealized American view of the system? And if you live in those countries, you're like, no, our system sucks just as much. Well, I'm thinking of, like, the parliamentary. So I know there's a whole bunch of different systems, but I'm curious, like, the parliamentary system where it's still a democracy and people are voting and whatnot, but there's more than just 2 parties that you can vote for, and then you make a government out of the people that end up in parliament or whatever. Yeah, I guess that's true. It would probably take a lot more time, wouldn't it? The other thing I don't understand about how some, like, other countries do it is, do y'all not have, like, a schedule for your elections? Aren't they, like, doing an election in France now? In Brazil, we have almost 10 choices, but it's usually about 3. Like, also curious about that, because we have elections that's every 4 years on a certain day every single time, but then I hear about other countries that are like, yeah, we're doing an election, like, hey, let's have an election. I was like, wait, you just do one whenever you want to? Why do we not have that option? Every 2 years, okay. So I guess we have elections every year technically, but, like, every 4 years for president, every 2 years for Congress, every 6 years for the senator. Like, it's all broken up. So there's, like, an election every November, but sometimes it's, like, really matters and it's, like, all national stuff. Sometimes it's more like local stuff. Sometimes there's really hardly anything going on. Interesting. Local elections are ignored. That's actually, like, that's very true. And it's actually very sad because I was talking to one of my brothers who, like, doesn't care about politics at all, probably isn't going to vote, like, never really votes. And we're talking about it, and he's like, well, the problem is, like, I just don't think this stuff really affects my life. All the stuff that people are arguing about, all the politics stuff, I don't think it really matters to my day-to-day life. Like, the end result of this. I said, well, like, okay, like, if that's how you feel, you should really at least be voting in your local elections, because I think the local elections, those are the ones. If your concern is, like, stuff that's going to affect my life every day, the local ones, those are the ones where you're kind of deciding, like, how is my garbage going to be picked up? Who's, like, that kind of stuff that really very directly affects your day-to-day life. So yeah, all that to say, I think that local elections are very underrated in that sense, because I think those elections do have a very big impact on your day-to-day life. Well, all right. Voice of the Black. Apparently Soul Sisters is a thing. This is like straight up Soul Sisters, and we are straight up getting absolutely... Oh, how did this thing become a 9/9? I've been distracted. Yeah, we're super dead. Well, I mean, we can loot, I guess. We can loot first. Grief's not doing anything here. The land's not saving us. We at least need a removal spell. That's not a removal spell. All right. On to the next one. On to the next one. Nah, I live in the East Coast. Yeah, I mean, I definitely encourage people to vote. I think yes, we have a anticipated campaign in France. It was a strategic choice, but really dangerous choice for the democracy. Yeah, I don't really I wish I knew more about French politics. But that's a little bit I've heard. That's a little bit I've heard just from America, is that there was an election was surprising. That's the main thing I heard from it, is it was kind of like an out of right field. No one really expected an election, and then all of a sudden there's an election, which was surprising. So what is your, I know we're a little early because spoilers start next week, but I gotta know, what is your hype level for Bloomburrow? Because I feel like I know Wizards has talked about this. They said it again at the Magic Con over the weekend. They're expecting this set to be really big. They actually, from what I heard, they actually said we focus on Duskmourn so much during the early preview stream because Bloomburrow is going to do really good. Like, we already know Bloomburrow is just like, it's going to be a banger. Everyone loves this set. What is your hype level? Are you actually more hype for Duskmourn? Interesting. I mean, now that I've seen the previews for Duskmourn, it's really shot up, and I'm really excited for Duskmourn. I actually think that Bloomburrow looks pretty sweet too. It reminds me a little bit of like Eldraine. I think of it like Eldraine, and Eldraine I think is a really cool plane. I think of it like Eldraine, but you're like living on the ground with the animals instead of in the towns with the people. It's like the ground level Eldraine. Duskmourn is probably a better name. I think they're both gonna be good. I have high hopes. Oh, I can't keep that. Betray. Oh no. Are we going to 5? Well, this is a good test for our last game. All right. Well, we will probably not be able to keep Grief. All right. No Grief, no Solitude. We're gonna put all the creatures to the bottom. Keep the removal. Can we beat Soul Sisters? Standard's gonna be wild. Standard, so we get rotation from Standard finally, which I'm really excited about. Oh, hopefully you're doing all right, Midway. Oh, can we play a Johnny? Actually, let's just wait. Let's just wait. Let's just play the swamp. We probably got to kill this guy to souls. Opponent. Does losing to Soul Sisters count as a win? In some weird way, it kind of does, doesn't it? So many sets coming out in Standard within the next 4 months. I know, with the announcement of Foundations, there really are. So let's kill this guy to souls. Oh, we just have so few cards in hand. Only the 5 on the play is very brutal. Kill the Ajani. We don't really have a way to get out of this. Play the land, play the Guide of Souls. I mean, we're just going to put our hand into play. That's all we can do. Run out the Ajani. Give some triggers.
Where shall we hunt
and pass the turn. Oh, also reminder next week. Early stream next week for spoilers. It's Bloomburrow spoilers. Kicking off Ocelot Pride. Meow. So yeah, we have Bloomburrow the beginning of August. Duskmourn the middle of... Ooh. Is there any world where we should be flipping this Ajani, or are we just killing our opponent's stuff? Yeah, I think we got to kill the Ocelot Pride. Kill the Ocelot Pride. Get some energy. Go attacking. Oh, they're not going to block it anyway, right? Yeah, let's get it with the Guide of Souls. Send it to the air. But we have Bloomburrow August. Then we have Duskmourn September. And then we have Foundations November. And then we got... What's the winner set? Is the winner set the, like... The... Oh, no. What's the name of the movie where they race each other through the Fury Road? That one. I don't know. The car racing through the desert set, right? I think that's the next set. XX Midway, welcome to the Fish Bowl. Thank you so much for your subscription. Big soup to you. Thank you. Yeah, I guess we'll trade. Death Rays, yeah, like a Mad Max set, right? It's supposed to be the Mad Max set. Well, let's play a Saurid. Get in with the Guide of Souls. Hit ya. I mean, maybe this Guide of Souls can go all the way. Maybe it can go all the way. We're nowhere near getting back this phage, thanks to the Flage, thanks to the Swamp. We only got 0 cards in hand, which is a lot less than 4 cards in hand. The opponent has even more Johnnies. They just keep coming. And Sunbait Canyon and gains a life and passes. Well, we will go to combat. Hit you with the Guide of Souls. Play a Bloodstained Mire past the turn. I imagine there'll be a Mad Max tie-in. Unless for some reason they just couldn't get the rights to it, I am sure they're going to do a Mad Max tie-in. Unstable Amulet. Went to an RCQ on Sunday, and I went 2-1-1 into round 5, and I faced my friend and lost because he drew the absolute nuts. I know your pain. As a Magic player, that's the hardest. Is timeless as common as standard? What do you mean by common, Adian? Or like, do you mean do people play it as much? So I think that if you mean do people play it as much, standard is the most played format on Magic Arena, but timeless is still very heavily played. Like, you can get a game with no wait time anytime, night and day. The biggest difference is timeless is only an arena format, so it's only played digitally. There's no paper timeless events or anything like that. Standard is played on arena, and it's played in paper, and it's played on Magic Online. So overall, standard is more popular, but on Magic Arena, timeless is still very popular. I play more timeless than standard on arena. So if you're worried about like getting in matches or anything, that's not an issue. Like, you're always going to be able to find people to play with you and have matches fire quickly and whatnot. Solitude, but we're a land short. Yeah, we need a land for this Flage, I think. That's probably our best bet here. Now that'll do. Marsh Flats, crack it. Red, red, white. Black, black, red, red, white. So we'll take a Sacred Foundry. Get a Sacred Foundry. Untapped. Well, let's see what answers they got. We'll get the Flage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are we going to win this on a Moldavide? Is it possible that we're going to win on a Moldavide on the play? So Flage comes down, snipes the Johnny. Get that out of here. Guide of Souls smacks ya down to, it's gonna depend on our opponent having removal. If this Flage actually sticks and we get to attack with it next turn, we're probably gonna win. Come on, no swords, no swords. Opponent spins it to win it with an amulet, hits a land. That doesn't matter, I don't think. If we draw another creature, we get enough energy to send Flage there, and it definitely ends. Opponent. Flage is so good. Flage is so good. That's what I feel good about. I was defending Flage during spoiler season, that it was actually a good card, and I think I ended up being lucky on that one and proved right. Do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior Vintage? I really... Oh, come on. No swords. Okay, Johnny. Okay, or Ocelot Pride. Sure. Get some energy. All of this is fine. Can we draw a creature to close out the game? Creature to send Flage to the air? Any creature. We just need we need a energy. We need any amount of energy to win the game this turn. Is Modern the new Legacy? It is kind of the new Legacy. Legacy without Brainstorm and Force of Will. The cards that make Legacy Legacy. About it. Bowmasters is a creature. That'll work. Play it. Snipe it. Get some energy. Get the GGs. Go to combat. Attack with Flage. Flagia. And Guide of Souls it. And that is Flage coming down to close out the game and the win on the Mole to 5 on the play. Wow. Oh, we got another game. Oh, no. All right, run it back. Run it back. I thought that was our last one. Greasefang's kind of faded. I haven't played Pioneer in a minute. Is anyone playing Pioneer a lot lately? I don't know if it's still... I think Amalia is just, like, better if you want a combo. It's just, like, Greasefang, but same colors, but you don't have the downsides of Greasefang, like being reliant on the graveyard or whatever. So I think maybe it just ended up being worse Amalia and Pioneer. But yeah, I haven't seen it in a minute. Soul Warden. Our opponent really wants to be a Soul Sister deck. Oh, swords are so good, but we don't have the mana for it. All right. Milling the swords like physically hurts because we got wrecked by that Voice of the Blessed in game 1, but Johnny Nakano Pariah
to the hunt
gains a bunch of life. So we're not as scary as Guide of Souls. Now Blood Crypt untapped, and I think... Oh boy. Yeah, we need to hit some lands here. I think we just gotta kill the Soul Warden. Kill the Soul Warden. Opponent gain some life. I mean, I guess if things go horribly, we can pitch something to Solitude to get rid of the Johnny if we have to. We really don't want to have to. We would much rather not do that. Been trying to work with Doppelgang and Pioneer. Fun when it works, but doesn't work much. Doppelgang is one of my favorite cards from the past year. We've played so many cool Doppelgang decks. I'm actually kind of excited for rotation to happen. I imagine we probably won't play very much Standard over the next month or so, but once Bloomburrow comes out... Ooh, wow, okay. I mean, this does require us to go down multiple cards, but... In response, Solitude, pitch. Yeah, let's pitch the swords, I guess. Get rid of the Ajani. And draw nothing. All right, pass the turn. Where's our lands? Where's our lands? Yeah, Bloomburrow is rotation time. Can you please explain how Goldfish Channel works? Do you run it? How about the other channels? Yes and yes. I mean, if you have any more specific questions, I can try to answer them. But basically, so Commander Tomer helps run Commander because he makes a lot of the content on it. I still kind of am like in charge of it. At the end of the day, I have the final responsibility for stuff. The other ones is I pretty much run all of them. So it's pretty, for the most part, people are pretty independent. Like Krim knows he's doing like 3 videos a week of gameplay videos. So it's pretty much, you can do whatever. We coordinate very loosely, especially around set release, to make sure, like, we try to avoid playing the same things. So we try to make sure that, like, Krim isn't playing the same deck I'm playing or Phil is playing. But really, it's kind of like, Krim knows that he does 3 gameplay videos a week. So he knows that he's doing 3 gameplay videos a week. So he just makes sure he gets done his gameplay videos. Oh, we gotta mill this. Well, do we mill the Ajani? How do we get rid of our opponent's Ajani? We still need another land for Flage. Yeah, we probably need to get to the Flage. Let's put this to the graveyard. How bad is them flipping Ajani? Probably very bad, right? Oh, so Scal James. I actually mentioned this earlier. We got a video coming up tomorrow or Thursday that is Nadu versus Hogag. So it's coming. It's coming. Yeah, Phil kind of does his own thing as well. Phil's videos are really good. They just take a very long time to edit. So it'd be very hard to make more Phil videos just because the editing process is so in depth. Well, let's play this Bowmaster. I think we actually have to kill the Amped Raptor because we want to make sure our opponent doesn't have a red permanent if they flip their Ajani. Well, yeah, we're gonna attack. This might be bad for us because this is gonna let our opponent flip the Ajani, but they don't have a red permanent anymore, so they get their Ajani. We will play in Ajani.
No world where my quarry can hide.
The Soul Warren's actually doing serious work for our opponent because we're also making so many bodies that has gained so much life. Galvanic Discharge, kill the Ajani. All right, do we get to kill our opponent's Ajani? That's the real question. Opponent untaps. If they have a red permanent, they're probably gonna win this game. Ocelot Pride's not red. It's not red. It's not red. Ajani. Man, we need one more card in the graveyard for our Flage to deal with this Ajani. One. About it. Makes the door, gain some life. We draw a Bowmaster. We flip our Saga. Opponent gains some life. We're gonna go to we're gonna go on the big attack here. Wow, opponent has another Galvanic Discharge. Well, that actually means we might not be able to flip our... Yeah, that's not great. That's not great for us. Attack. Everything at the Ajani. Opponent. Blocks. Well, we will Bowmaster. Kill the Ocelot Pride. Now I wish we played the Guide of Souls first. I think that was a bit of a mistake. Play the Guide of Souls. Pass the turn. About it untaps. Gets Luris. Wow, takes up to put counters on cats. Counters on cats? What is our opponent thinking? Counters on cats is not good. Oh my goodness. I think our opponent just gave us the win. I think they gave us the win because now we can copy the Bowmaster, snipe the Soul Warden, kill the Ajani, get a bunch of energy, and the tide may have turned. Soul Warden down, go to combat. 4 and 5 at Ajani, the rest can go face. And we have a Fatal Push left over. And we got a Flage that needs one more land from the graveyard. Our opponent does get Luris. They do get Luris and get back something. But the Ajani's down. The Ajani's down. The Ajani's down. Past the turn.
Stop the coming war.
Yeah, we started with Ponza. That was our first deck. Does Phil do anything besides Magic content? I don't believe, like, job-wise, I don't think so. He does a lot of like back-end stuff, design and thumbnails, and he's really that's Phil's other skill. Alongside making good content, he's very good at like any editing, design type stuff. So he does some of that kind of stuff for Goldfish 2 and Raptor. Instead of Luris, spin it to win it into a Guide of Souls. Okay. Opponent passing. Solitude. Well, so Reflections. Copy the Bowmaster. Snipe the Amp Raptor. Make some energy. Go to combat. Swing. Yeah, let's just swing. Let's just swing with those two. Get in there. Still kind of want to draw one more land. That would still kind of be nice. Opponent down to 19. Pass the turn. I mean, yeah, Ponza's kind of the name for land destruction. All right, there's Luris. Well, opponent has options. From the graveyard, what are we going for? Ocelot Pride. Sure. Opponent. Gonna get in with the Guide of Souls. I mean, I think this is mostly okay, right? So we take 3. But the Reflections is doing really well here. So opponent gets to make a token. They get an energy. We get to untap. We finally draw land. So we get to... Oh, now we have so many options. So I think we just... Reflections. Reflections. Copy the Bowmaster. To snipe the Ocelot Pride. And then land Flage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is where it gets good. Flage comes down. Gets rid of the Luris. Make some energy. Go to combat. Swing with the crew. And yeah, we're going to send this 6/6 to the air. Get in for 8. Yeah, I think Flage is so good that I think it makes Luris much less good. Like, if you have the choice between like playing a deck like our opponents and playing a deck like ours, I think that Flage is worth more than Luris, as crazy as that is, because Luris is such a strong card, but Flage is just such an incredible way to close out the game that whenever I'm building a deck and I have the choice, I have been choosing Flage over Luris, and I feel like it has been the correct choice most of the time. Yeah, we need one more mana to Solitude copy Solitude. Found it. Soul Sisterin. Ooh, Sorin. What does that do? Well, we can play Sorin. Get some energy. And some life.
An invitation from grandfather? Curious.
We can copy Bowmaster. Ping the Soul Warden. Voice of the Blessed doing its thing. We can go to combat. Attack, attack. Flage to the air. And snipe your face. Oh, wait, that's Guide of Souls. Alrighty. Oh! Oh! Okay, that was not how we planned to do that. That was not how we planned to do that at all. Okay, we'll have to do it this way. So, somehow we managed to flaged itself. I don't know how we managed to do that, but, I mean, we're still fine, because Thorn flips. We gained 6 life. Send it at your face. Flage is so good, we can pump with it and still... I think I mixed up the Guide of Souls and Flage triggers. I wanted to Guide of Souls the Flage, and then Flage is the opponent, but I tried to Guide of Souls our opponent, and then Flage the Flage. The good news is, in the end, we got there. We got there in the end. Wow. Well, that is the power of Soren. I gotta say, Soren was actually, like, kind of impressive there. It was kind of, like, super really impressive. I think Soren, I feel like all the flip walkers, I think I would agree with the argument that they're all a little underrated right now. I think that maybe, oh, we gave up on the punt counts because there's too many. There's too many. We used to have a punt counter, but once it got in the thousands, it wasn't worth tracking anymore. I feel like all the flip walkers might still be a little underrated because they're just trickier to build around than some cards. But Soren was very, very impressive in this deck. And I think this shows how strong it can be. Hey, what's up, Lyrids? Good to see ya. I think it shows how impressive it is because we can't actually... we're not actually built around it, right? It's like, sure, we got Flage that gains life. We got Guide of Souls because it's a good card, but it's not like we're a life gain deck. We're not a Soul Sisters deck. We're playing Soren because it's a good card, and we have some cards that incidentally gain life. And even that was Soren being responsible for closing out most of our games, but... Wow. On that note, everyone, I gotta go get Bearby. So I think that brings us to the end of our stream for tonight. But reminders on the way out the door. Replay YouTube. That's where you can find all the old streams. Normal YouTube. Look out for Nadu vs. Hogek coming soon. And tons of other stuff on the YouTube. A reminder that our sponsor today is Card Kingdom. If you need some magical cards, you can go over at cardkingdom.com/MTGOldfish. Even get a free goldfish sticker. Pick up some Assassin's Creed or whatever. And one more reminder that next week's stream... gonna be Bloomburrow spoilers starting. So earlier stream, probably going live like 11 a.m., maybe 10 a.m. to 30 a.m., somewhere in that range. So we can play some Magic and then check out the Bloomburrow spoilers. So on that note, everyone, thanks for hanging out. I love y'all. Y'all are amazing and awesome and spectacular. And I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, I will talk to you soon.